Stand up, all victims of oppression, for the tyrants fear your might. Don't cling so hard to your possessions, for you have nothing if you have no rights. So come, brothers and sisters, for the struggle carries on. Listening to Mike from PA unites the world in song. So comrades, come and rally, for this is the time and place. Join the Central Committee and unite the human race. Break down the billionaire system. Bring down the bourgeoisie. To see the end of capitalism, we must set Luigi free. Demand that health care be provided, as well as housing and food security. We'll build high-speed rails and revolutions with heads of billionaires and solidarity. So come, brothers and sisters, through this struggle we'll carry on. Our gifts up to Central Committee is one step closer to righting the wrongs. So comrades, come rally, and remember that Hush owes Mike $1,500 because Mike was fucking right. Mike was fucking right.
Hey, up, punch.
Mike was fucking right.
Alrighty, everybody. Thank Joey.
Hey!
Oh, no. We're not going into the curse videos. Welcome in, everybody, to the Central Committee stream with your host, Mike from PA. Oh, my God, is it? It's not good, chat. It is not good. Today is a day of just sadness. Tesla stock is going down. Is it? I mean, it's going down a little bit. Tundra Beaver, thank you for the 5 tier ones. Oh my God, Mike, you're so hot. Take it out and spit it. So true. Thanks, buddy. You know, we are facing a situation of complete and utter collapse of the Democratic Party, and it was predictable. It was expected, but it still doesn't feel good. I think one of the things is, like, have you ever seen a friend or or a coworker or a family member doing something and you go like, hey, you shouldn't do that because you're gonna hurt yourself, and they're like, fuck you, and you're like, whoa, bro, I'm just telling you, you're doing it wrong, and they like really react negatively, and you're like, what the fuck? And then they do it, and everything you warn them about happens even worse than you thought it would be. Like, they hurt themselves even worse than you imagined they would hurt themselves when you stepped in to warn them. Steelers doesn't feel you're good. Yeah, exactly. Young baby reformed. I hope that doesn't happen.
Hasan Piker liked my video, and a lot of people might think that that's a good thing. However, I'm here to tell you that it's not, because he is not a good person. Now let's get into it. Number one, he's forcing his own mother to masquerade as a Turkish woman while actually being an illegal migrant DEI hire, serving as sort of like a nanny for less than minimum wage. As you may know, she cooks and cleans for his entire family. He eats entire chickens at one time, also known as pollo in her language. And that kind of begs the question, well, where is she from if she's not Turkish? Italy. I've thought for a long time that Hasan dresses like a bad caricature of an Italian mobster from GTA, and I think that sort of confirms it. Number 2, he said some very not nice and unsavory things about comedian Ethan Klein, even implying that he's not a comedian, as if this shit wasn't hilarious. Also, Ethan and Nilo's satirical clothing brand, Teddy Fresh. I mean, this shit is, you know, he's a master at his craft. You can't really say he's not. Also, that sketch that he forced a gay fan to say whether he was a top or a bottom live on stream. I mean, dude, he's a master at his craft. It's not even a good point. Number 4, he eats on stream, forcing me to hear him chewing while speaking with his mouth full. Why not just get up, walk away, pause the stream, eat, and then come back so I don't have to hear you speaking with a full mouth?
This guy's got a good point.
Number 4, his head is entirely too...
I mean, honestly, I'm like, what can he say? He's right. He's right. Those are scathing critiques, but they are correct. You know, that's the thing about this community that we have here. When somebody makes a good point, we let them know that they made a good point. You know, we don't run away from the good points. Okay. Today was the day, though, chat, and I think good people are on the ropes. Did you see this? YouTuber Destiny36 is accused of revenge porn by 4 women, but claims he's the victim of the leak. Okay, we're gonna have to save that for later. That's just funny, dude. He got onto the Daily Mail. The Daily Mail chat. That's just what's funny is like we're gonna laugh at that article for sure, but that's like when Destiny got an anti-Hasan article in the Fox News, and they were all celebrating. But now you have this. Fuck, that's funny. Slate just released a podcast about Ethan Klein. Stop. I live in the Green Bay area. We are represented by a Republican. I'm thinking about starting a mass harassment campaign, sending out direct mail to tie him to a Republican budget that passed the House last night. Good idea, bad idea. So political mailers are one of the most common ways of doing direct advertising, and I will tell you that in order to get an idea in people's heads, you probably have to send the same thing or similar mailers like 8 different times. So you're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars for a congressional district, and it's not going to stick in people's heads. Like, they're going to see the ads and throw it in the trash. You know, it has to be extremely well timed and coordinated. I get it. Like, I get what you're saying. It's just, this is just something that we do all the time, and it's less effective than you think. However, especially if it's a one-off. Did you see Hasan was on TikTok with the Zoomers? Yeah, I hate this. I gotta be honest. I hate this. Like, it really bums me out. I'm not gonna lie. Like, these are frauds. These are frauds. Like, Harry Hasan is an anti-leftist. Like, these guys don't, like, this is cringe, man. I don't know what else to say. Like, these people are bad. Like, they're bad people who believe nothing and hate the left. None of them have potential. None of them are good. It's bad. It is what it is. The same thing with the Pod Save America's people. They're just enemies of us. They'd kill us if they could. And that's what you're going to be seeing shortly. Because what did Hakeem Jeffries do when he went on Stephen A. Smith? He said that the extreme left was a bigger problem. He's not going to bend the knee. You know what that reference? I didn't even bring this up because I was so disgusted by it. I didn't even want to bring it up, and it is embarrassing. Thank you for the hype train, by the way, and everybody who subbed. I appreciate you. One of the debate guys said he didn't know much about the economy and needs to read up more on it. Can't make this up. Just fucking kill me, man. I need to get on TikTok. I've been trying. Okay, I'm all over the place this morning because I feel a sense of real urgency. Thanks for the information. I'll keep looking at more effective way of bringing awareness. I would honestly start Facebook groups and groups in your community and try to gather, you know, maybe even see and look if there's like an indivisible chapter, look and see if there's a moveon.org chapter, if there is a DSA chapter, and like start connecting with other people, because it might not be the worst idea in the world to start collecting like-minded people in your area. Hamas Piker should be executed as a terrorist recruiter. Don't you think that also should apply to anybody who supports Israel? Doom Turkey XL? Well, I mean, like, if somebody supported the killing of 20,000 children, right? Like, isn't that kind of more terroristic? Also, why even use the word terrorist? You don't care about that. You don't care about terrorism. Just say Arab. You know, you don't have to say terrorist. Why are you saying terrorist when you know it's not about using violence for political ends? You don't mind that. So why bring that up? It's just a waste of time. Just get to the point. Just get to the point. I just set up a multi-stream for Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok. I'd like to see Mike multi-stream, but some of the other platforms are so strict with streaming / reacting. I think you could do YouTube as long as you hide the live, right? Like you unpublish the live. Like, isn't that what most people do who do political streaming? Like they'll do a regular stream and then unpublish the live and then put clips and post videos of like clips where they're not reacting, right? Oh yeah, by the way, you guys should report that account, by the way. Get that banned. 2014 account. Oof. I would call it hateful conduct, right? Threatening violence. That'll work. There you go. That's usually how you do it. It's so funny how all these right-wingers are paper thin and fold immediately when confronted. Makes me mad that no one besides leftists are pushing on them. I don't know. I mean, it definitely feels like I think the biggest crisis we have right now is just the fact that we're not allowed to form a coherent left, because so many people have been propagandized into believing that there are two parties in America and they will always be the Republican and Democrat, and you can't end them and you can't do anything differently. And a lot of really smart people believe this, even though it's not the case. And it's that's the crisis, is the Democratic Party is just engineered to prevent democracy and prevent accountability. It is a jobs program. It is a grift. It's about stealing as much money that people donate because they care about things and converting it into money for the failed sons and failed daughters of various corrupt centrist politicians. And there's literally no way for me to, that's just an objective fact. And yet people want to pour money and effort into this organization that everyone hates. And I don't understand it. And I don't get why so many people are afraid to just be like, yeah, the Democratic Party is the problem. And yes, the Republican Party is also the problem. But guess what? There is a conservative group of people and fascist people in this country. And they're getting what they want. All right. So they're not going to abandon the Republican Party. They're getting what they want. They're hearing what they want to hear. You're not going to, just saying Republican Party bad is not enough. You have to actually believe in something and you have to fight for something. And we just don't have it. Does it hurt that since the Republicans are the fascist party, now people think the Dems can be the leftist party? They can't. They cannot be. And they won't fight back. Hey, Mike, was just popping to say some news about Morena. Apparently, the party is becoming the new PRI and starting to accept every corrupt politician from other parties. Is making the voter base start to shake and get iffy with the party. That's not happening, man. I'm sure there are corrupt people within any major national party is going to have corrupt people. Just because organization is a good idea or the belief system is a good idea or the politician, it's true. Any organization made up of humans is going to have abuse. That's just part of the way things are. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you, chat. Like the California homelessness funding is just stolen. It doesn't go to housing homeless people. It's just stolen. So cutting these programs, a large portion of them are just theft rings. Like they're not wrong about this. Oh yeah, I saw Gavin Newsom was starting a podcast, which is very smart. This is very smart. I hate it, but it is very smart. I hope somebody else would do. I wish like other people would do this. I wish Bernie would do this, or I mean, like someone. It is very smart.
This lady is Valicia Adams Kellum. She's the CEO of the Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority, in charge of managing over $800 million annually in federal, state, county, and city funds towards homeless shelters. It's a big responsibility, so they pay her a monster salary, $430,000 a year. And what's she been up to? Valicia has just been exposed for funneling millions of dollars worth of contracts to her husband. Quote, documents show that Valicia Adams Kellum, chief executive of the LA Homeless Services Authority, signed a $2.1 million contract and two other contract amendments with Upward Bound House, the Santa Monica-based nonprofit where her husband, Edward Kellum, works in senior leadership. And here he is, Director of Operations and Compliance. Compliance. The irony is not lost on me. And for context, $2.1 million is about a quarter of Upward Bound House's total funding. So I would say Valicia's generosity is quite critical for this organization. Except that organization may not be what it seems. Haley Maria Van Nuys wrote that, personally, she feels sorry for all the new homeless families coming into this program thinking they're going to get help when they're not. That place
this is just some random post. I don't think it's a very good point.
Back it up. It's stable. Journalistic integrity, I must say that Adams Kellum has denied wrongdoing. A LASA spokesperson told LAist that the contracts had inadvertently ended up in front of Adams Kellum to sign. Except, she's done it 3 separate times, so not shady at all. The agency also said that they have pledged additional staff training to prevent future incidents. Such a joke.
They're just $800 million and they don't have any public housing. Like, it's insane. Like, how do you spend this much and you have nothing to show for it? It's just, this is way more than Vienna spends on their social and housing, public housing, budget. Like, they have tens and hundreds of thousands of units. Just like, the theft is unbelievable. America cannot do anything. Oh man, I think today is a day where I'm just like, I'm pretty good at figuring out strategies and thoughts, but today I have to admit that there are very few people that are like saying anything smart right now. Like, you have like Giannis Varoufakis, you have Professor Wolf. It's just like honestly sad and pathetic. Chris Hedges is like on fire. The Medicaid cuts that they just passed out of the House, 217 to 215. Every Republican but one voting in favor.
And the liberal establishment are like headless chickens. That NATO is a larger scale mafia that creates insecurity in order to sell protection. What is even worse than Trump's plan is the liberal establishment's naive belief that Trump has no plan and that he's just a fool. The United States has killed, assassinated leaders, it has overthrown governments, it's been responsible for millions and millions of people who died by American bombs. The latest, of course, is the genocide of the Palestinians. So,
Mike, the other day my friend tried to tell me the government contractors grifting off our tax dollars was not an example of capitalism. It is an example of corruption and capitalism. If you have everything created by private effort and the government tries to buy it and then it's stolen by capitalists for profit, that's an example of capitalism. I don't know what else to say. Capitalism refers to the means of production being privately owned. If the means of production are privately owned, then it's a consequence of capitalism. I don't know what else to say.
Maybe we owe Trump a debt of gratitude for allowing us to turn against the white supremacist settled attitudes of the United States.
Let's watch some Bad Empanada real quick.
Hello, everyone. So you might have heard that Donald Trump and his best friend Elon Musk are defunding USAID. And I've seen a lot of people have these sorts of ridiculous opinions about this. They seem to think that USAID actually exists to do humanitarian aid and to help people around the world, and that what they're doing here is bad. But I think those people are just very dumb, right? And particularly I think they're very dumb because when China helps to build a hospital somewhere, the people who say that sort of thing are the first ones to say, oh, come on, man, you really think they're just building their hospital out of the goodness of their heart? They expect something in return for that. They're trying to build their influence there. This is imperialism. And then those people will look at the USA doing nothing even close to being that clearly beneficial with USAID, and they're like, yep, this right here, this is pure altruism designed to benefit the poorest people of the world by the USA, which, as we all know, does not have any ulterior motives ever. So I think that sort of lays bare what's kind of going on here. they want you to think that USAID is actually just an organization for aid rather than a means of doing imperialism via financial coercion and stuff like that. For example, here is an article in Reuters which talks about how a lot of supposed independent anti-Chinese government human rights groups had to lay off staff and stop their work because Trump cutting funds to USAID and the NED and stuff like that just cut off literally all of their funding, because ultimately these groups literally were just like quasi-US state actors. They were funded by and essentially created by the US government to do their enemy country propaganda, whether it's China or whatever other country. For example, among the affected groups is the US-based Freedom House, which said its project, China Descent Monitor, staffed by researchers in Taipei who keep a public database of Chinese protests, was forced to suspend all research due to a funding freeze. And Freedom House it's just a US front organization.
I mean, I'll be honest with you, chat. I think the best way to understand what's going on is that life is getting a lot worse for Americans, but better for the world. And I think that is the reality of what's happening, which is Donald Trump is basically deploying shock doctrine on the US. And a lot of the, if this ends up being the case, if the US ends up stopping all these programs, all these, attempts to interfere with other countries, like, do you guys really think Taiwan is its own country? I mean, it only exists because the United States has made extraordinary effort to preserve it. Like, they have the Republic of China flag, for fuck's sake. They claim Mongolia. That's the thing that's really funny, is people go like, the Chinese Communist Party is doing imperialism in Tibet, even though Tibet was part of China for hundreds of years before the communists won the Civil War. Leaving aside that fact, the Taiwanese claim Mongolia. The Taiwanese claim the 11-dash line that people complain that the Chinese communists are claiming. No, Taiwanese claim that too. Like, it is a very funny thing, like, that you had these Chinese fascists lose a civil war, get protected by the American Pacific Fleet, and then everyone pretends like it's some sort of like dynamic natural division. It's like, no, this was a Chinese province that is geographically isolated by water, which allowed the United States to interpose itself between the two fighting sides in order to preserve the people they align with, which was the Chinese fascists. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. And the only way that Taiwan can continue as it is now is with U.S. effort. That's it. With U.S. interference, with U.S. support. And if people are like, well, what if Taiwan gets taken over by China? And it'll be like, okay, what happened when Hong Kong got taken over by China? Or Macau got taken over by China? Did your life suddenly fall into an abyss? They're not happy about chip production. The only reason chip production was done in Taiwan is they didn't want to give the American labor movement leverage over our military weapons and equipment. And they worried that if we make chips in the US, organized labor could go on strike and prevent us from getting our weapons chips. And they could, so we would lose our ability to do unlimited violence abroad if American labor could strike and prevent us from manufacturing chips. It could put a real squeeze on the global economy. So we need to move it to a fascist country, which is what Taiwan was at the time. A fascist country under martial law, where they executed labor organizers. That's why they moved it to Taiwan. It's very straightforward. But now Taiwan could strike, right? Well, at this point, Taiwan is still the same anti-leftist state that it has been its entire fucking existence. And I don't just mean like communists. I mean like, I think we should be able to have good working conditions. Gunshot. Greetings from Lower Saxony. Oh no. Isn't that like AFD Homeland? Isn't this Bad Empanada guy kind of crazy? It's kind of crazy how right he is.
It's a US government front organization that exists to do propaganda against whatever designated enemy the US government has decided it needs to focus on this year. Now, I think it's pretty safe to say that if your organization relies on literal US government funding to even exist, then it's not exactly a very organic organization. You know, it's not exactly very based in the interests, wants, or needs of the people of the country that you supposedly are advocating for. I can only imagine how much this hypocrisy would be revealed. In fact, I don't need to imagine it because it has been revealed with like the hysteria around Russian interference into US politics, for example. Like, just imagine. Right? Like, imagine an NGO supposedly like directed towards spreading freedom and human rights in the USA that was 100% funded by Russia or China. You would blow a fucking gasket. None of the people who defend USAID would ever be okay with something like that in their country, yet they're okay with the USA doing it everywhere, and they try to frame things like that being defunded as being a bad thing. It's not a bad thing, it's a good thing. It is pure interference in foreign countries' politics in order to spread American imperialist agendas, propaganda, and goals. There are also more subtle ways in which programs like this work. For example, one of the places in which USAID is most pervasive is the Philippines, where the USA is known for basically spending aid money there. Like, they especially like to fund the education system there. And in exchange for this, like, you know, it's not like the Filipinos just take the money and then do what they want with it. It comes with this condition from the US government that the curriculum there has to be more pro-US, more like pro-free market, pro-capitalism, and sort of lead people into supporting the US and like serving American imperialist agendas in the Philippines. This article, for example, which I'll just summarize really quick by reading the abstract. Since the early 1980s, the United States' Agency for International Development has supported neoliberal education in the Philippines, and USAID is interested in providing a pro-US curriculum which presents the US in a more favorable manner to youth and students, and the US government actively promotes its neoliberal policy within the Philippines education sector, and in doing so it weakens actual, like, you know, more generic, normal education initiatives in the Philippines provided by the public sector. So basically the US spends a couple $millions or whatever in the Philippines, and the return from that is that they produce a bunch of Filipino kids who come out as like capitalists who think the USA is awesome, and this thus makes it, in the long run, far easier for the USA to win in geopolitical struggles for influence over the Philippines. That's what these sorts of programs are for. It is simply interference in the political affairs of these countries in order to bring them more into your sphere. Some of these initiatives are way more obvious than others, some of them aren't. There's also other things like, you know, USAID provides, like, say, condoms to people in Africa and stuff, and I think the reason why they do that is pretty self-explanatory. They want there to be less non-white people in the world. Same reason why Bill Gates is absolutely like obsessive population control. And so, like, the official Twitter account of the fucking Elon Musk Department of Government Efficiency posted this list of supposed initiatives cut by USAID. Now, I just want to note that the vast majority of these have undoubtedly been mischaracterized or never actually happened. So let's go through some of these, and I will sort of cut through the bullshit language here to tell you what they might actually be for if you look at this through the correct lens of the USAID being an organization of expanding American imperial power, which I think should be pretty obvious. For example, $486 million to the Consortium for Elections and Political Process Strengthening, including $22 million for inclusive and participatory political process in Moldova, and $21 million for voter turnout in India. Now, I'm sure that most of this is mischaracterized, exaggerated, or just plain false, but let's just take that at face value. Let's say that actually really did exist and it did use that language. I think anyone with a brain can look at that and see this is essentially like a means of the US trying to push elections in those countries towards being more catered to their interests. You know, towards supporting certain candidates who they view as more amenable to their own interests, and to ensuring that the election process in those countries is structured in such a way that makes their own preferred candidates winning way more likely. You could really, like, if you cut through all the euphemisms, just call this $486 million to election interference. That's what it was. There's other stuff too, like $2.3 million for strengthening independent voices in Cambodia. Like, just think for 2 seconds. What voices do you think they would strengthen in Cambodia? Obviously those with, like, politics that are pro-American, pro-capitalism, you know, pro their own geopolitical interests, anti-China, stuff like that. $2.5 million for inclusive democracies in Southern Africa. Again, election interference. Like, it's so simple to see through the bullshit here. It's really simple to see through the euphemisms and understand what is happening here, what these things would actually be.
The Prague Civil Society Center. Greg Stoker from Mint News, Colonial Outcast, ballparked in his mind off the cuff very unacceptably during one of his broadcasts. The USAID probably spent 20 to 30% of their budget on good stuff, and the rest was spent on bad. Yes, all of it should be cut. Here's kind of the reality that people don't want to face. is that the United States of America, and I've said this before, every time you look out into the world and you see something fucked up, it's because the United States of America and the incumbents that profit from it are establishing that as a policy. That's why they assassinate and kill anytime an African leader gets elected. It is like, hey, let's invest in self-sufficiency and education, and let's renegotiate these contracts for our natural resources. How come all the gold and diamonds is pouring out of Africa and none of it sticks to their fingers? Decades and decades and decades of spending trillions of dollars of natural resources to the West, and it's poorer than fucking dirt because nothing is invested in. And that's why they hate China so much. The reason why they hate China so much is China is beginning to build that infrastructure and raise the standard of living of Africans. And that once Africa gets out from underneath the thumb of the West, then Western domination is over.
For if these were indeed true, though again, this is Elon Musk, he makes shit up. And the thing is though, Musk and Trump are just very dumb. Now I've seen some people saying like, you really think that Elon Musk and Trump are dumb and they would just defund an imperialist initiative without realizing that it's actually good for imperialism? Yeah, I do. You guys have been saying that Trump is the dumbest and Musk are the dumbest people in the world this whole time. And I agree, they are. You can't just backtrack on that now that they're doing something that is clearly very dumb for their American imperialist goals and act like they have some sort of nefarious secondary intent here. I mean, obviously they do, just not in the way that people who are saying that have been saying, like they've been saying, you know, they're defunding USAID in order to start doing like a more overt, like CIA-style imperialism, boots on the ground sort of stuff. You know, they're going to be more obvious about it rather than, for example, trying to sell you a new war on the basis of like women's rights and some NGO like crying wolf about supposed human rights.
Did you guys see this video? Yeah, this honestly, when I saw this video, like when I saw this video, I'm going to show you this video. It made me feel a profound sense of just like depersonalization. Like I looked at this video and I thought to myself, are we even sentient as a species? All right, are you ready? Like this video was probably posted by Donald Trump, an AI slop video. It profound mental damage incoming.
Donald's coming to set you free, bringing the light for all to see. No more tunnels, no more fear. Trump Gaza is finally here. Trump Gaza shining bright, golden future, a brand new light. Feast and dance, the deal is done. Trump Gaza #1. Trump Gaza shining bright, golden future, a brand new light. Feast and dance, the deal is done. Trump Gaza #1. Donald's coming to set you free, bringing the light for all to see. No more tunnels, no more fear. Trump Gaza is finally here. Trump Gaza shining bright, golden future, a brand new light. Feast and dance, the deal is done. Trump Gaza #1. Trump Gaza shining bright, golden future, a brand new light. Feast and dance, the deal is done. Trump Gaza #1.
I watched it twice just so you could, because I think the first time you watch it you can't believe what's happening, and then the second time you like look at it and then you realize like what, yeah, like you just realize like how fucked we are like as a species. I think one of the things that well, some of the belly dancers have beards. Yeah, I know, I noticed. I was like, of course you're fucking sentient species. What the fuck are you talking about, Mike? And then you play that video of holy fucking shoot, are we fucking sentient? Yeah. I mean, this is one of the videos like I don't often feel doomer just because I feel like being doomer is pathetic, and so I just reject it out of hand. But I have to admit, like what gets to me, what frustrates me is when people who I used to respect are just acting as if it's 2017 or something. And they're just doing the exact same shit they've always done, and they never change. They never change their strategy. It's like they're going through the motions. And it's like everyone's just going through the motions. There's no change. It's like they're NPCs. It's like they're not sentient. This is Fall of Rome moment. Like, this is like, you know, if you ever read about the fall of the Roman Empire, how even as Visigoths were, you know, storming the gates, people were still debating the same old dumbass shit. It's like, it doesn't matter how shattered things are. People are just acting in the same way they always did. And they're just never, they're not going like, okay, we need to change. We need to do something differently. No, let's just do the exact same shit we've always done. You know, if you're a regular person and you're out on your own, I understand not having any kind of idea. But if you're a person with a platform, if you're a person who has read a book, like, this is where I honest to God feel like Michael Brooks and Matt Christman not being here at the same level is profoundly damaging. Like, we are out of, there's like very few voices in the online space on the left who have any kind of thoughts at this point. They're just going through the motions. Mike, I'm now 13 months in China. During the past year, China built another subway line to relieve congestion on Line 10 by opening Line 12 that runs east-west through the heart of Beijing. I wrote it yesterday, and the autistic joy I felt walking into a clean and brand new subway station and riding a brand new train. I'll take pictures next Tuesday when I ride it again. I cannot comprehend it as an American, the ability this place has to build new high-quality infrastructure. Why haven't you invited me yet to go to China? Why haven't you invited me yet with like actual, with an itinerary attached of all the cool things we're going to do and all the friends that you've made? Like, do you even consider yourself a viewer at this point? Why aren't you planning me an entire vacation in China? Like, what the fuck is happening? Like, how many hours have you spent in here and I can't get one fully planned itinerary vacation? People feel so resigned. Hasan went on a big rant yesterday that we just got to suck off the Dems because the people have no hope of a vanguard or sense of class. Yeah, I mean, that's what I really hate, man. I literally invited you on the stream. Look at my log, you idiot. I said I would show you around in Beijing. I'll show you around in Beijing? Is it an invite? That's an invite? I'll show you around in Beijing? Hey, Nandre. Hey, Nandre. What's up, man? How you doing, brother? Did you see this? We're playing this again just for Nandre. Okay, he said he saw it, so I'll pause it. I'm like profoundly in a bad way. I'm in a bad place right now. Because I feel like people have lost all ability to imagine anything, and there are no leaders, and there's nobody who has a coherent plan, and there's nobody even trying. And I know I'm not the guy. I'm not the guy. And that's the worst part, because there is no other guy. I'm not the guy. Because there's so many things about me that are just not good enough to be the guy. And it's so embarrassing that we don't have anyone I can point to. Not one person where I can say, this is the leader that we need. This is a person who's got, you know, pointed mostly in the right direction. Everybody is saying stuff like, you know, we just need to sponge off the Dems. And Hakeem Jeffries is the leader of the Democratic Party. He hates us. He hates us. Like, Hakeem Jeffries hates Chapo Trap House more than fascism. There is no guy. It's like so depressing, dude. Like, I just tweeted this. I said, question for the left liberals. What would it take for you to advocate for a new political party to be formed? Somebody explain how it would be more successful than any other new party that has zero power. New parties have overtaken old parties multiple, I can't spell, times in U.S. history. Open a book? I don't know what else to say. That's not an answer to my question, by the way. Like, someone explaining how it would be more successful. That's it? One guy? One guy explaining? My favorite part of my streams is narrated tweet typing. I hate you. I hate you, Nandre. I'm just in a moment of profound political ennui. Like, the development of left-wing politics is so moribund and so stale and so adolescent. It's why we've been like doing more China Watch stuff, because they're doing things, but we have no part of that. We had nothing to do with it.
This video.
No, we're not watching this. We're not watching that right now. You've been through a lot more life than me, but it's really disappointing we're not even making yourself what is needed. I love you, and I know you're having a day. Just felt like this needed to be said. You've been making myself into what my community needs, and it's hard. Yeah, that's definitely true, RK Monkey for sure.
I drive these Chinese cars. I'm astonished. They shouldn't have sent them to us. Now we know how good they are. Now we're like, crap, we got to catch up. If we let capitalism sort this out, China wins this game. All these automakers are pulling back on these EVs. If that's the way we want to go, then that's the way we want to go. But the Chinese EVs, I've driven them. They're way ahead. They're way ahead and they're way cheaper. And China's going to walk around and start selling these cars in the other markets and start gobbling up market share in all those places too. And pretty soon our auto industry is going to be Ford selling cars to Americans. When we eventually adopt it, when we have to, will China have already succeeded? Do you know what I'm saying?
And they will have charging stations and better technology. Right. And yes, 100%.
And that's the fear. That's the fear with walking this back. That's the fear with the government walking it back. And that's why we can't just necessarily just let capitalism sort it out when we have the conversation. Because capitalism may sort it out in a way that is not favorable for us. And our government has this isn't pure capitalism. Our government has the ability to kind of put their finger on the scales of what actually succeeds.
This is not where I thought this conversation would go.
I'm surprised to hear myself saying this too, but I've been thinking about this more and more over the last few weeks. And when you hear about
Ford CEO a few months ago had an interview where he said that he drove the Xiaomi SU7.
He's been driving it around.
And it's like, this is better than what we're building.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And this is the essence of liberalism, by the way. The reason why China, they don't want to let capitalism sort it out is because capitalism, a free system, does not exist and never has existed. And what Doug is saying here is basically he understands that white people are not the superior race. They have the superior resources right now. And if we allow Chinese people to earn what they deserve, they will overcome us because they're better at it. And so we can't allow them to do that. We have to make the rest of the world poorer. That's what Doug is saying, basically. We need to make the rest of the world poorer to ensure American domination of the world, which is the logic of the United States in a nutshell. All right, let's watch some more Bad and Panada. I'm sorry for being depresso right now, but it's just pathetic.
Rights abuses, some US-funded USAID, any defunded NGO saying that now they're just going to do that shit directly and be open and honest about it. For one, I don't believe that. I think Trump and Musk are dumb enough to defund all of these things without really understanding what they were truly for. And for two, even if that was true, that would still be an improvement over the past. It's a lot easier to fight imperialism when it's not putting a mask on. It's a lot easier to convince people that the imperialism even exists when it's out there and open. And it's a lot harder for the sort of people who would try to frame defunding USAID and the NED and stuff like that as being bad. It's a lot harder for them to hide their own imperialism when it's just out in the open rather than behind 5 different veils of euphemisms. So either way, this is not a bad thing. Though, obviously, I'm not saying they did this on purpose. I'm not saying they did a good thing on purpose. I'm saying, I think Trump and Elon Musk are dumb enough to do things that serve for weakening American imperial power globally. They're dumb enough to do those sorts of things when they don't really mean to do that. They are precisely the sorts of people who take these projects at face value. They see an organization for strengthening women's rights in Afghanistan or something. They're like, huh? I don't give a shit about women's rights in Afghanistan. America first. Let's take that money away. Without realizing that the whole point of that was to spread propaganda to legitimize American sanctions on Afghanistan with the goal of weakening the government and spurring a revolution there, or perhaps justifying a future second invasion or something like that. That's just an example that I made up on the spot. You can apply this sort of principle and logic anywhere. They're the sorts of people who take these sorts of initiatives at face value and they're like, fuck women, fuck LGBT rights, I don't care about that sort of thing. And then on the flip side, you have the people who these sorts of initiatives are actually for, the liberal imperialist, who see an initiative to strengthen independent political voices in Cambodia, and they're like, fuck yeah, I love independent voices, help those people out, yeah man. And you don't think for 2 seconds, while Trump sees that and he's like, I don't give a shit about independent political voices in Cambodia. And neither of them are smart enough to think for 2 seconds and say, well, what kind of independent voices in Cambodia is this for? Obviously, those who advocate for American imperialist policy and goals. So yeah, big ups to the Donald Trump and his dumbass.
That's why I don't have a lot of faith in the Europeans forming their own power bloc, because this is what do you think Keir Starmer is and all these people in power in Europe? They're all America is our daddy cucks. If you want to vote for people that are not that, it's Jeremy Corbyn, it's Mélenchon, it's the left. Everybody else in that country is an Americuck, and that includes AFD. None of these people want to have an independent power bloc, because absolutely chock full of what you want to succeed in European politics. You are an Americock. That's it. You are an Ameriboo. That's it. And you get supported for that. If you're a person who's like, you know, maybe we should counterbalance America, then you're going to be assassinated.
I don't even know who's the sidekick here, whether it's Trump
I'm just in such
or Musk.
a bad
Honestly, it
mood
seems
right
like
now,
Trump
dude.
might be Musk's sidekick, which is embarrassing and pathetic. But huge props to them for accidentally doing anti-imperialist things, regardless of their intention. They are sort of accidentally laying bare this sort of subtle, it's often called soft power imperialism, but it's really not soft power. This is just straight up direct political interference. Like they are just laying bare that sort of thing and getting more attention on it while defunding it. Great, good, fantastic. And just to end this on something potentially educational and useful, the reason why I say it's not particularly soft power is because it really is just direct interference. Like, when I think of soft power, I think of things like, you know, like McDonald's expanding and people eating American food more, or I think like K-pop becoming globally popular.
I want you to, I'm going to say something that is my most American thing in the world. The McDonald's quarter pounder with cheese is a food technology. It's ass. Of course it's ass compared to like a good burger. But there has yet to be a society that can, when confronted by burger, did not go into burger. Every society in the world, we gave them burger and they were like, you know, I kind of like burger. There is yet to be a society that turned down the burger. That's true. That's true. Don't even get me started on French fries. This is my favorite take from you, but the worst. What do you mean? How is it the worst? This is just factual. Everybody likes burger and then they immediately start getting fatter. They immediately start getting fatter. Burger hits their shores and they immediately start getting fatter. This is every single society. Go to Japan, McDonald's is full. Go to Vienna, McDonald's is full. Go to Tokyo, McDonald's is full. It doesn't matter. Everywhere, it's full. McDonald's full. I could eat a quarter pounder in one mouthful. Me too. I'm kind of sad that we never did the McDonald's or the fast food challenge on Andre, because with me and Vio on your team, we would have won quite easily. We could just house fast food. Fat as fuck. Although I'm losing weight, chat. I'm down 20 pounds from my peak weight. Isn't that nice? I still got at least another, I would say my goal is to lose another 20 pounds, but I want to really reconstitute it. I just want to reconstitute it. On my way down, lose 20, maybe like lose like 10 to 15 of fat and then reconstitute another 5 to 10. You're losing weight. Please don't become evil. I was even less. I'm down 15. Nice, Casey. Congrats. Am I a gym rat now? No, I'm just not drinking calories is the answer to that. I've cut out a lot of like sugar and alcohol. So that's where the 20 pounds went. I'm drinking water and bubbly water. Start small with push-ups and work your way up. You know what I need to do? I do Kegels. Me too. Every time you piss, you got to do them. You got to train yourself. And you take a zinc supplement. Am I right, Andre? How do you solve the caffeine problem? I still put caffeine in it. I put caffeine in my water. That's the answer. I just put caffeine in my water. I just hate fake sugar. That's crazy. It's not. I drink some tea. I drink chai. Chai is my favorite type of tea. Slurgo, thank you for the 10 tier ones. All right, let's finish this video.
Popular. I don't think about like the US government just like creating a bunch of shell organizations to advocate for its own imperialist policy around the world and spread its own imperialist propaganda around the world and to do straight up election interference in countries around the world. That's not really soft power. That's just hard power. It might not be like literal boots on the ground like invasion, but it's nonetheless very direct political interference rather than just sort of subtly spreading your influence through like cultural hegemony and stuff like that. So anyway, yeah, I just wanted to cover this in a short little video on my second channel. I'm not interested in your thoughts down below. I'm correct and you're wrong if you disagree. See ya.
Honestly, how can you not like Bad Empanada? I hate this thing where people do this, like they go optics. Oh, optics. His optics are outstanding. We need more people like Bad Empanada. Honestly, if you hate this guy, you're wrong. Like, that's all I can say. Unlimited, uncritical support for Bad Empanada. When Bad Empanada says the American left is pathetic, is he lying? Ozempic Hitler Klein talked about me?
Mike from PA, enemy of the show. This dick riding communist that's obsessed with Hasan, and he's become
I'm obsessed with Hasan.
One of our dedicated haters, like snark, just like a snark guzzling fucking dumbass weirdo.
Tell me how you really feel, though.
I mean, it's. I mean, he's.
Mike from PA falls for the pill bait. A 300 upvoted. This is boring, guys. Like honestly, the pill bait. Did I even fall for the quote pill bait? Huh? What is even the pill bait? That's it? Can you show me when they actually talk about something of substance? Basically, I think Ethan Klein took Adderall or said someone, oh, the ADHD meds. Oh yeah. Okay, that's what they want to talk about? Yes, you shouldn't take other people's prescription meds on stream. Oh wait, oh, he had like 8 pill bottles next to him. Oh, I saw a clip of him and I said, wow, that looks healthy. He's got like 8 pill bottles next to him, and I moved on. That was it? Who gives a shit? By the way, I told you this is what was going to happen with Ethan Klein. We were going to spend probably a dozen hours on substance, showing why Ethan Klein was wrong, watching Bad Empanada videos. And the one time I go like, wow, he looks terrible. Look at all the pills next to him. You're his next obsession. Okay, who gives a fuck? You said something about pill maxing. I think it was funny. Okay, fine. We'll watch it real quick.
Mike from PA, enemy of the show. This dick riding communist that's obsessed with Hasan. And he's become one of our dedicated haters, like snark, just like a snark guzzling fucking dumbass weirdo.
Tell me how you really feel, though.
I mean, it's. I mean, he's vile physically and spiritually, and just in every way. Like, he's just vile. And
I'm not poisoning the well here, Ethan. Before we even watch the clip.
You don't need to poison the well against Mike. The man is poison. You can't poison poison. If you poison poison, sometimes it just turns into an antidote.
Oh, true. Antivenom, if you will.
Exactly.
Well, we wouldn't want that. Okay.
But anyway, he's obsessively watches everything we do, and you'll see in this clip the shit that people are falling for. So the H3HG _ Productions is the new snark since they shut down. And here is friend of the show, Mike from PA, just browsing happily. Let's see.
Is this like smelling salts? Like, what is this man consuming on air? Like, how many chat, look, how many prescription bottles? Like, what is, oh my God.
Man, this man is healthy, by the way.
Bro, please don't talk to me about health while looking like that. Please. Let's just be real for a second, okay?
Well, he addresses that.
This man looks like he drinks fucking iced butter. Okay? I mean, I'm just being real. And he knows that. He sucks hard to get.
Wait, iced butter?
Yeah.
So
it's a refreshment.
Ethan Klein was 300 pounds before he started going to like a Los Angeles Ozempic clinic. And now the moment he gets skinny while looking terrible, you know, sometimes people say that you lose weight and that'll like really improve your looks. But with Ethan Klein, it was a side grade. Honestly, I think you were more attractive as a fat guy, Ethan, to be honest with you, because it kind of filled you out a little bit more. It made you seem more jolly, and you had to be more jokey because you were a fat slob. So you kind of, because you had self-loathing, you had a self-deprecating streak, and you were more jolly. But now that you're skinny, you're just a skinny, ugly guy. You know what I mean? Because you're ugly both outside and in. Whereas me, I'm not Hasan. I'm not posting thirst traps for you to jerk off to all night.
I'm confused. So do you melt the butter and then you put ice?
You put hot butter.
It's liquid butter, but then you fill the cup with ice.
Cup of ice, liquid hot butter. You pour it in, then something happens.
This is from
probably the water makes
era.
it melts enough water that it turns into a drinkable beverage. And whatever it is what Mike bubbles down.
Okay. Calls it pleasantly plump Pennsylvanian. Fat.
Pleasantly plump?
A pleasantly plump Pennsylvanian.
Why is it? Okay, he's pleasantly plump. I mean, sure, I'll give him that.
And he's Beverly Hills pills maxing.
What does that have to do?
Live on stream.
It's true. Listen, it's true. He caught me. I was pill maxing. In fact, do we have any of those left, or did I eat them all?
I think you might have eaten most of them.
They were very good. I consumed.
Do we know what happened to those?
I got some of these left.
We don't really believe in properly disposing of pharmaceuticals here. I think I might have flushed them down the toilet, actually.
Yeah, that's what they say to do.
That's what they say to do.
Anyway, Mike, you got me. You are astute. You are really hard hitting there, buddy. We wish you all the best, don't we, folks? Based?
That's it? I think Beverly Hills pills maxing is still accurate. Wow, he got me. He says I drink liquid butter, guys. Great clip. I was funnier than he was. He's supposed to be a comedian. Pleasantly plump Pennsylvanian and Beverly Hills pills maxing. Those are some bangers, man. Like, honestly, like back to back, off the top. I'm happy with those. Oh man, that's great. Least funny comedian I've ever seen. He said I'm not good looking, guys. Amazing. Okay, let's keep going. Should we get into the Ethan Klein? Hasan finally takes on Ethan Klein. Should we do that? Because I'm not there yet. I'm not ready for it. Okay, guys, here's the thing. the more we take on Ethan, the worse he's doing. Like mentally, physically, it's just, it is just hurting him, and it's helping us. You know, like, I thought when the election was over that there was going to be a little bit of people kind of pulling away from elections, becoming a little apathetic. And like, one of the things that's really helped out my channel has been Ethan Klein's kind of like continual obsession, because he's helped train a lot of the like Hasan viewers that want somebody to fight back. They're flocking here, you know, and it's just, we're just growing out of control, you know, like you could just see the hours watched going up, followers is going up, and this is all organic, you know. It's crazy. Like if you look at our like, look at this stuff, this is crazy. Like the politics channel is like at its highest point in February. That's crazy. If you go back to like the last election February, like I was dropping off. You know, I mean, obviously I got a boost in November, and then we got more of a boost in January, right? And then, you know, it's the same thing. February is like tends to be kind of a bad month. It's, you know, instead of my best month ever. It doesn't make sense. I enjoy your anti-Ethan content. Good. I plan on continuing to, honestly, I don't mind like being the person that continues to take on Ethan Klein. As long as Ethan Klein talks about politics, I'm going to take on Ethan Klein, because he doesn't know anything about it. Dan is just a like paid sycophant. So he's just going to back up Ethan every single time. And so, you know, he doesn't really have his own opinions. And of course, why would he have his own opinion? He's paid to be there, right? He doesn't like own the show, right? It is what it is. You know, he's going to do that. All right, wait a minute. What is this? Holy shit, Ethan Klein defenders are insane.
Always talks about how you're a dumbass. Okay, I can say that. It's not slander. You're a fucking moron. I can say that, and it's not slander. I can say that statistically, your people are dumber than other people, and that's not slander either.
Okay. Statistically, your people are dumber than other people. Average Ethan Klein liberal. This is funny because he thinks he's getting us. This is one of the things that I really like about people like Ethan Klein and online conservatives in general, is they think by being racist, like we're going to be shocked and scandalized. Bro, we know you're racist. We're not surprised. You're wearing the sunglasses from that from the Secretariat Ghostbusters. That's surprising. It's surprising that you thought that looked good, but it's not surprising that you're racist. Okay? Okay, now that I have a picture of her, her eyeglasses are actually better. They actually look better. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for associating her with him or them.
Okay. Always talks about how
oh my lord. Ethan Klein. What could you even say about him, chat? Okay, sometimes people ask me about my L's, and my biggest L is John Fetterman. By far and away my biggest L. I've taken an L from time to time in life. You know, if you don't ever take L's, you're never pushing. You're never struggling. If you only win, then you're never challenging. You know, it's life should be about finding the boundaries of what you can do. And sometimes we take L's. And John Fetterman, when he had a stroke, his brain has gone rotten. You could literally point to the day that he had the stroke, the day of the primary, and it's just been all downhill from there. The Senate has held 91 floor votes in the new Congress, and the attendance record is clear. Democratic Senator John Fetterman of Pennsylvania has the worst record, missing 18 votes, 8 more than any other senator. I'm devastated by your inquiries, says Fetterman, 55, when asked about his worst in Senate attendance record, declining to elaborate further. Of the 18 votes Fetterman has missed, 11 were on Thursdays. So he just doesn't show up on Thursday. He's just like, 4-day weekend every weekend. Despite his Senate absences, Fetterman didn't miss an opportunity to travel all the way to Donald Trump's private Mar-a-Lago resort to meet with the then president-elect, the first sitting Democratic senator to do so after last year's election. It's going to be so awesome when he gets thrown out of office. Why didn't you ask Fetterman's wife why he does this? I think I asked her why Like, why he's just your son. I think I told her that her husband was the biggest mistake, or like an embarrassment, or something like that. I don't know if she like. I said your husband is a disgrace. That's what I said to her in a DM, because we're mutuals. We've been mutuals since he was running for governor. Excuse me, lieutenant governor. And I took her to a Syrian dinner. A Syrian, there's this organization that in Pennsylvania that was like a Syrian like community center, and I took her there. You know, lots of Muslims and Christian Arabs, and they did this whole show of pretending to care about them and about like justice for Syrian people and things like that. So she's been you know, I've known her since before I was a content creator. We've been mutual since before I was a content creator. Like, that is how much I feel like they have been a disgusting disgrace and failure. What are your thoughts on sabotaging, wrecking a staunch enemy of the left's marriage in order to kneecap them spiritually? I'm trying. I'm pretty sure they're going through a divorce. No, that's just made up. All right, this story is the funniest story I've ever seen, chat. Trump to offer gold card visas for $5 million to the rich. I'm gonna make a bold prediction. They don't sell like any of these. Because if you are rich enough to have $5 million, you're rich enough to hire a lawyer and for them to find you a cheaper way to get a visa than $5 million. But it is useful for one thing, which is mask off. Like, for the longest time, I've tried to explain to you that the United States doesn't have any nationalists in it. The United States doesn't have any nationalists in it. We only have a population that is the servants and the foot soldiers of the international bourgeoisie. And Donald Trump is out there going, yeah, if you're rich, you're better than an American. Is this useful for Saudi oil princes? No, they just get a diplomatic visa. What do you mean, Luna? They don't buy this shit. They get a diplomatic visa. They also get diplomatic immunity. So when they rape someone or they run someone down in a Ferrari, they could just leave the country with no consequences. It used to be $500K. You didn't even have to pay the government. You could just buy a $500,000 house or $500K in stocks. Yeah, it's just, what can he even say? All right, let's watch some of this.
States of Germany, of France, of the United Kingdom, even my country, Greece now.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys saw this, but this is something that I saw this morning, and it made me. It is what it is. Jeff Bezos said, I shared this note with the Washington Post team this morning. I'm writing to let you know about a change coming to our opinion pages. We are going to be writing every day in supported defense of two pillars, personal liberties and free markets. We'll cover other topics too, of course, but viewpoints opposing these pillars will be left to be published by others. There was a time when a newspaper, especially one that was a local monopoly, might have seen it as a service to bring to the reader's doorstep every morning a broad-based opinion section that sought to cover all views. Today, the internet does that job. I am of America and for America, and proud to be so. Our country did not get here by being typical. And part of America's success has been freedom in the economic realm and everywhere else. Freedom is ethical. It minimizes coercion and practical. It drives creativity, invention, and prosperity. I offered David Shipley, who I greatly admire, the opportunity to lead this new chapter. I suggested to him that if the answer wasn't hell yes, then it had to be no. After careful consideration, David decided to step away. This is a significant shift, and it won't be easy. It will require 100% commitment. I respect his decision. We'll be searching for a new opinion editor to own this new direction. I'm confident that free markets and personal liberties are right for America. I also believe these viewpoints are underserved in the current market of ideas and news opinion. I'm excited for us together to fill that void. Jeff. Conservatism is underserved in the marketplace of ideas. This, ladies and gentlemen, is why we need a new party. Also, the other thing is, like, can we just make a comment on adventurism? Now, in traditional Marxist theory, there was a belief that adventurism was bad because it didn't lead to structural changes, which are important. And I tend to agree with that, but I think that it, in the full sense of history, is wrong. I think that some of these more orthodox Marxists underestimated the value of a symbol for galvanizing. They underestimated the value of martyrdom. They underestimated the value of of seeing those people at the top as just as vulnerable human beings as the rest of us. And so I think that, you know, Marxism is wrong on this point, or orthodox Marxism, as it's normally applied, is wrong in the sense that adventurism is just totally pointless. I think that that is not correct. And I think if you look at history through the lens of Christianity itself, Christianity, for its many flaws, had one virtue, which was the canonization of the martyrs. Basically, in Christianity, if you die because you are unwilling to renounce your faith, then you are exalted into heaven, right? And while I'm not sure about the theological correctness of Christianity, I think it's very much in doubt that God exists. I will say, from the point of view of here on earth, being a belief system that people are willing to fight for and die for makes it have a lot more gravitas, makes it more believable. All right, let's keep going.
Vis-a-vis the Palestinian genocide. The anti-war movement, the pro-Palestinian movement, is grasping that.
Hello, everyone. I'm Rania Kalik, and this is Dispatches. Donald Trump's return to power is sending shockwaves through the global order. But his economic vision isn't just about tariffs and trade wars. It's a calculated strategy to reshape America's dominance. While centrists dismiss him as erratic, his policies reveal a deeper understanding of raw economic power. What is Trump's master plan, and how could it backfire? Meanwhile, Musk and other tech billionaires aren't just funding politicians, they are the new ruling class. As capitalism gives way to techno-feudalism, with a world reshaped by cloud capital, what does it mean for democracy, sovereignty, and global conflicts? In Europe, the Trump administration is demanding more militarization, even as US elites openly mock the continent's decline. At the Munich Security Conference, European leaders practically wept over Washington's shift in focus, proof, if any was needed, of their subservience to US empire. But does Europe have any real sovereignty left? From Gaza to Ukraine, from AI wars to economic shocks, the global balance of power is shifting fast. Joining me to discuss this and more is Yanis Varoufakis, economist, political...
Also, Christianity specifically makes holy the figure of a crucified man, a punishment made to humiliate people and designate them as wretched. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of things about Christianity that you understand. If you think about it deeply, you understand why it proliferated so much. But fundamentally, I find it to be irrelevant to the modern era and or the contemporary era.
Political leader, former Greek finance minister, and author of many books, including Techno-Feudalism, What Killed Capitalism. He's also co-founder of the international grassroots movement, DM25, and a professor of economics at the University of Athens. But before we jump into it,
we're talking about Europe as their next door neighbor, but we're going to make sure if you could get up, and we've been able to make a deal where we're going to get, we've put together a lot of credit, appreciate great cabinet very much. We appreciate you being here, and we've put together a great cabinet, and we've had tremendous success. We've been given a lot of credit for having a very successful first month, and we want to make that many months and years, actually. But we're going to have many good months, and we're going to have many good years, I hope, and we're going to solve a lot of problems. We're doing very well with Russia, Ukraine. President Zelensky is going to be coming on Friday. That's now confirmed, and we're going to be signing an agreement, which will be a very big agreement. And I want to thank Howard and Scott for the job you guys did in putting it together. You really did an amazing job. And that'll be on rare earth and other things. And as you know, we're in for probably $350 billion. Europe is in for $100 billion. And that's a big difference. So we're in for probably 3 times as much, and yet it's very important to everybody, but Europe's very close. We have a big ocean separating us, so it's very important for Europe, and they hopefully will step up and do maybe more than they're doing, and maybe a lot more. the previous administration put us in a very bad position, but we've been able to make a deal where we're going to get our money back, and we're going to get a lot of money in the future, and I think that's appropriate because we have taxpayers that are shouldn't be footing the bill, and they shouldn't be footing the bill at more than the Europeans are paying. So it's all been worked out. We're happy about it, and I think that very importantly, we're going to be able to make a deal. Most importantly, by far, we're going to make a deal with Russia and Ukraine to stop killing people. They'll stop killing young Russian soldiers and young Ukrainian soldiers and other people in addition in the towns and cities. And we will consider that a very important thing and a big accomplishment because it was going nowhere until this administration came in. They hadn't spoken to President Putin in 2 years. And so we'll keep you advised. Before we begin the cabinet, I'd like to have Scott and a couple of people say a few things, but most importantly, where are you? Right here, sir. This is a gentleman who's going places, the head of HUD, and he's going to say, you all know him, and you're going to say grace, and then we'll have our meeting, right? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President. Let's pray.
The hucksterism is just crazy. It's just, and people like this shit. They like this shit.
Father, we thank you for this awesome privilege, Father, to be in your presence. God, thank you that you've allowed us to see this day. The Bible says that your mercies are new every morning. And Father God, we give you the glory and the honor. Thank you, God, for President Trump, Father, for appointing us. Father God, thank you for anointing us to do this job. Father, we pray you'll give the President, the Vice President wisdom, Father God, as they lead. Father, I pray for all of my colleagues that are here around the table and in this room. Lord God, we pray that we would lead with a righteous clarity. Father God, that as we serve the people of this country in every prospective agency, every job that we have, Father, we would humble ourselves before you, and we would lead in the manner that you called us to lead and to serve. Father, the Bible says that blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord. Well, Father, we today honor you, and in your rightful place, Father, thank you for giving us this opportunity to restore faith in this country and be a blessing to the people of America. And Lord God, today in our meeting, we pray that you would be glorified in our conversation. In Jesus' name, amen.
Scott, that was a very good job you did. You've done that before, haven't you? So Scott Turner is a terrific young guy. He's heading up HUD, and he's going to make us all very proud, right? Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you very much. Great job. In just over 1 month, illegal border crossings have plummeted by numbers that nobody's actually ever seen before.
I'm sorry, Shad. I just couldn't listen to it.
It's much more than 100%, and we've unleashed American energy at levels that will soon be reported, but we think we're going to get it going very quickly. We have incredible people on the energy front.
Look at his fucking
we
hair,
have really
dude.
great people on every front.
Look at
I'll
his
let you know
fucking
if they're
hair.
not good, but I think they really are.
He's balder than Nandre. Like the fat, like you can see how it's like a thatch. Like he's just totally bald, and then he has like this thing, and then it's like swirled over here on the back. The double comb over, dude. It looks so bad. Yet people like it. People like it.
Fighting every day to get the prices down. The inflation is...
Amaranth is just... She's just out for money, man. Like, it's really not that complicated. Like, for the longest time, Amaranth was, like, trashed by these guys as being, like, what's destroying the platform. She got a bag. She went to Kick. She got big enough and wealthy enough that all these concerns that regular people have are no longer her concern. And, you know, it's a sociopath thing. You know, like, she rightly is class conscious. She's aware of, she's a rich person. You're not. Her interests are, in the short term, better represented by the far right. And so she's going to push the narratives of the far right for her own gain. Like, it is what it is, you know? And the thing about Amaranth is she understands something. And this is what's so scary about these sociopaths like Amaranth, is like, they understand that if, like, for example, she started getting attacked by a bunch of like far right chuds for being a sex worker, right? Like if they wanted to ban her OnlyFans or arrest her for being a sex worker, she could run into our arms and we would help her. So she's doing this knowing that if things go sideways, she'll run right to us and ask for our help. That's what bothers me about it, you know? And there's a reason she's you know, a close friends with Destiny and associating herself with Amaranth. It's a calculated business decision. It is what it is. I'm gonna do what I can to make that a bad business decision, you know? And you know, that it is what it is. Also, living in Houston, and she taunted LA for having wildfires. You live in Houston. There's going to be a chemical plant explosion or a hurricane or another Arctic freeze. You know what I mean? Like, eventually, you know, you're going to be suffering.
Stopping slowly, but part of the reason it's stopping is because of high interest rates and other problems that we inherited. But we have to get the prices down, not the inflation down, the prices of eggs and various other things. Eggs are a disaster.
Casey Tron is always right.
Secretary of Agriculture is going to be showing you a chart that's actually mind-boggling what's happened, how low they were with us and how high they are now. But I think we can do something about it, Madam Secretary, and I think you're going to do a fantastic job.
They're mad that interest rates are high. But if they lower interest rates, inflation is going to go over. So, like, basically what's happening is the economy is starting to stall out, chat, because we're running out of easy money, easy, cheap money. And, you know, they're cutting government spending, which is going to make the economy go down. Basically what's happening is they're stalling the economy right now. So look out below, folks.
Job in that position. One of the most important initiatives is Doge, and we have cut billions and billions and billions of dollars. We're looking to get it maybe to $1 trillion. If we can do that, we're going to start getting to be at a point where we can think in terms of balancing budgets, believe it or not, something you haven't heard in many, many years, decades actually. And it's a big, whether it's this year or next year, I think we'll be very close to balancing budgets. And the Doge is very important. And Elon is here to give you a summary of what's happening, some of the things they found, some of the horrible things they found, some of the theft and fraud, and we call it waste and abuse, but a lot of fraud, and probably some fraud that we're not going to be able to prove is fraud. But when you hear the names and the places where this money's going, it's a disgrace. But we've requested that a lot of people, we want to make sure that the people are working. So letters were sent out, and I think everyone at this table is very much behind it. And if they aren't, I'd want them to speak up, but they're very much behind it. Letters were sent out to people just to find out if the people exist. Do they work? Who do they work for? Where are they? You know, where have they been working? Have they been working for other companies or other entities at all? Or being paid by the government, so they have two jobs, but they're supposed to have one. And the letter asks some simple questions like, what have you done lately? And if they can answer that, because I can tell you everything I've done for the last long period of time, a lot more than a week. And in many cases, we haven't gotten responses. Usually that means that maybe that person doesn't exist, or that person doesn't want to say they're working for another company while being paid by the United States government. So there's a lot of interesting things. It's very unique, but we have a very unique situation because we have a lot of people that were scamming our country. We have a lot of dishonest people. We have a lot of people that took advantage of a lot of different situations, and we're not going to let that happen. So I'm going to ask if it's possible to have Elon get up first and talk about Doge, because it seems to be of great interest to everyone. I will say that there is a large group of people in this country that have such admiration for what we're doing. I got elected with a tremendous vote, winning every swing state, winning the popular vote, winning the counties by thousands of counties. I think it was 2,800 to 5.
He loves talking about his stupid election wins. This is the feature of Trump talking, that it just becomes so boring. 4 years of this. Now we got to do another 4 year. Well, he'll probably, like, he might just drop dead, right? Like, we think that's a possibility. When the billionaires get what they want and he tries to fight them, you know, they could just slip some heart attack juice into his coffee.
2,800 counties to 500 counties. Think of that. And so we have a mandate to do this, and this is part of the reason I got elected. I got elected based on taxes and based on many things in the border, but also based on balancing budgets and getting our country back into shape, and this is a big part of it. So Elon, if you could get up and explain where you are, how you're doing, and how much we're cutting, and it's an honor to have you. He's been a tremendously successful guy. He's really working so hard, and he's got businesses to run. And in many ways, they say, "How do you do this?" And he's sacrificing a lot, and getting a lot of praise, I'll tell you. But he's also getting hit, and we would expect that, and that's the way it works. So I'd like to have Elon Musk please say a few words.
Well,
thank you, Elon.
Thank you, Mr. President. I actually just call myself a humble tech support here because this is actually, as crazy as it sounds, that is almost a literal description of the work that the Doge team is doing, is helping fix the government computer systems. Many of these systems are extremely old. They don't communicate. There are a lot of mistakes in the systems. The software doesn't work. So we are actually tech support. It's ironic, but it's true. The overall goal here with the Doge team is to help address the enormous deficit. We simply cannot sustain as a country.
Dressed like he's going to TYT Studios. He's got the jank fit on. Shaky Gurga's in the chat.
$2 trillion deficits. The interest rates, just the interest on the national debt, now exceeds the Defense Department spending. We spend a lot on the Defense Department, but we're spending like over $1 trillion on interest. If this continues, the country will become de facto bankrupt. It's not an optional thing, it is an essential thing. That's the reason I'm here. And taking a lot of flack, and getting a lot of death threats, by the way. I'm gonna like stack them up, you know. But if we don't do this, America will go bankrupt. That's why it has to be done. And I'm confident at this point, knock on wood, you know, knock on my wooden head, there's got a lot of wood up there, that we can actually find $1 trillion in savings. That would be roughly 15% of the $7 trillion budget. And obviously that can only be done with the support of everyone in this room. And I'd like to thank everyone for your support. Thank you very much. This can only be done with your support. So it's really, Doge is a support function for the president and for the agencies and departments to help achieve those savings and to effectively find 15% in reduction in fraud and waste. And we bring the receipts. So people say like, well, is this real? Just go to doge.gov. We line item by line item, we specify each item. So, and I should say, we will make mistakes. We won't be perfect, but when we make a mistake, we'll fix it very quickly. So for example, with USAID, one of the things we accidentally canceled very briefly was Ebola, Ebola prevention. I think we all want Ebola prevention. So we restored the Ebola prevention immediately, and there was no interruption. But we do need to move quickly.
Nobody likes this guy. Like, if the Democratic Party actually took this is the crisis that we have, is that there's a lot of people, and I'm going to explain why I think we need to like abandon the Democratic Party now and not wait, is that the Democratic Party understands that this guy is unpopular and has no charisma, but they're holding their fire because he has money. And so, and there's a lot of people, millions of people that are socially, politically oriented, meaning they want to back up the Democratic Party. And when the Democratic Party is holding their fire, those socially oriented Democrats hold their fire because they believe, they have faith, wrongly, that the people in charge of the Democratic Party know what they're doing. They think, wrongly, that there's adults in the room. And so they trust. And so we have a situation where everybody's just standing around, looking around for people to say something. But in reality, people like Hakeem Jeffries they're doing exactly what they were designed to do. Take money from billionaires and discipline the Democratic Party to serve their interests. That's why Hakeem Jeffries is minority leader. Do you think it's because of his charisma? Do you think it's because he's winning races? Do you think it's because the Democratic Party of New York is some sort of progressive champion and that New York has great outcomes? It's because he is the New York City hedge fund corrupt guy. And he's been focusing on defeating the left in New York. That is his reason for being minority leader.
If we're to achieve a $1 trillion deficit reduction in financial year 2026, it requires saving $4 billion per day, every day, from now through the end of September. But we can do it, and we will do it. Thank you.
Would you have any questions of Elon while we're on the subject of Doge? Because we'll finish off with that. And if you would have any questions, please ask. You could ask me or Elon. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Musk. I just wanted to ask you that President Trump put out a Truth Social today saying that everybody in the cabinet was happy with you. I just wondered if you had heard otherwise, and if you had heard anything about members of the cabinet who weren't happy with the way things were going, and if so, what are you doing to address those any dissatisfaction?
Elon, let the cabinet speak just for a second.
Yeah, exactly.
Is anybody unhappy with Elon? If you are, well, throw them out of here. Is anybody unhappy?
Look at these yes man sycophants. It's just, is there a process that Congress could replace Hakeem as minority leader? Yes, the Democratic caucus votes to replace him as minority leader. He's elected because the Democrat politicians want him to be elected. Do you understand why I want to get rid of the Democratic Party? Because they decided in their infinite wisdom that Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer are the best leaders they have. If that doesn't tell you they're worthless, nothing will. What is happening in the USA today has similarities with what happened to Germany before the German Revolution, especially the part where a lot of socialists kept trying to stay in the coalition with the SPD instead of forming their own big party. And when they did, it was too late. There wasn't enough time to organize a strong revolution. Yes, I know. Why do you think I'm arguing to split?
They have a lot of respect for Elon and that he's doing this, and some disagree a little bit, but I will tell you, for the most part, I think everyone's not only happy, they're thrilled. So go ahead, Elon.
And President Trump has put together, I think, the best cabinet ever, literally. So, and I do not give false praise. This is an incredible group of people. I don't think that such a talented team has actually ever been assembled. I think it's literally the best cabinet that the country has ever had, and I think the company should be incredibly appreciative of the people in this room.
Go ahead, please. Yeah.
Mr. President, thank you, Mr. Musk. Are there about half of the government employees so far appear to have responded to your request for what they've been doing over the past week? Is there a timeline in place for next moves for people being fired, and when can the American people expect to see results from that?
Yes. Well, to be clear, I think that email perhaps was misinterpreted as a performance review, but actually it was a pulse check review. Do you have a pulse? Do you have a pulse and 2 neurons? So if you have a pulse and 2 neurons, you can reply to an email. This is, I think not a high bar, is what I'm saying. This is should be anyone could accomplish this. But what we are trying to get to the bottom of is we think there are a number of people on the government payroll who are dead, which is probably why they can't respond, and some people who are not real people, like they're literally fictional individuals that are collecting paychecks. Well, somebody's collecting paychecks on a fictional individual, so we're just literally trying to figure out, are these people real? Are they alive? And can they write an email? Which I think is a reasonable expectation for the American public would have at least that expectation of someone in the public sector.
Mr. Musk, roughly 1 million employees.
It's not a high bar, guys. Come on.
Roughly 1 million employees have responded so far to this email. Does that mean that the remaining 1 million or so federal employees now risk being terminated? And is it your understanding and expectation when you post a directive on X that the cabinet secretaries will follow that order? Because several agencies have instructed employees that this is voluntary or not to respond.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess it was like last week, the president encouraged me via Truth Social and also via phone call.
Let me just pause this for a second to say how profoundly stupid this is. Incentivizing your society to be focused around who can bullshit people in a stupid email as opposed to actual effectiveness of the task being completed. This is actually one of the biggest problems with management in general. Right? And it's kind of profoundly incredible that Elon Musk has never figured this out, which is people, you can't determine if somebody is a good welder based on how well they pay attention to their email, or how well they write an email explaining what they're doing. Right? Like that is just a different skill altogether. And this is the problem that Elon Musk has. It's the problem of evaluating like how well people are completing tasks. And to be like, oh no, I just need them to write an email. Does that actually achieve anything within the purview of their job? Do they even have an email address? Is it mandatory to have an email address? It's just an insane baby tier level. This is like something you would think of in middle school. Great investor. He's not a great investor. Elon Musk is the equivalent of somebody who won Powerball twice. That's it. It's selection bias. PayPal only succeeded in spite of Elon Musk. It's because a bunch of people selling shit out of their garage picked PayPal on eBay to be the eBay payment transfer program. That had nothing to do with Elon Musk. In fact, he was against it. And every single piece of code he wrote for PayPal was stripped out. He was basically bought off to shut up and go away. Same thing with Tesla. He did very actual little, then show up with money and then suck off the federal teat. $7,500 tax credits per car at a time. Like, this guy is, so that's why he's rich. He got lucky twice, not because of leadership, not because of discernment, but because of luck. The electric car is not something he invented. It was a technology that was in competition with the internal combustion engine in the 1890s. People were like, are we going to have internal combustion engine cars, or are we going to have battery powered electric cars? That was the fucking competition. And for a variety of reasons, internal combustion engine cars won out. But the idea of an electric car was always going to be, and has always been, a road not traveled secondary technology. And now that batteries have gotten to a certain level of energy density, they are now superior in most circumstances to internal combustion engine vehicles.
To be more aggressive. And I was like, okay, yes, sir, Mr. President, we will indeed do that. The president is the commander-in-chief. I do what the president asks. And I said, can we send out an email to everyone just saying, what did you get done last week? And the president said yes, so it did that. We got a partial response. We're going to send another email. But our goal is not to be capricious or unfair. We want to give people every opportunity to send an email. And the email could simply be, what I'm working on is too sensitive or classified to describe. Like, literally just, that would be sufficient. I think this is just common sense.
And what is your target number for how many workers, employees you're looking to cut total?
We wish to keep everyone who is doing a job that is essential and doing that job well. But if the job is not essential, or they're not doing the job well, they obviously should not be on the public payroll.
I'd like to add, wait. I'd like to add that those million people that haven't responded, though, Elon, they are on the bubble. I wouldn't say that we're thrilled about it. They haven't responded. Now, maybe they don't exist. Maybe we're paying people that don't exist. Don't forget, we just got here. This group just got here. But those people are on the bubble, as they say. Maybe they're going to be gone. Maybe they're not around. Maybe they have other jobs. Maybe they moved and they're not where they're supposed to be. A lot of things could have happened. I wouldn't say that Biden ran a very tight administration. They spent money like nobody's ever spent money before, wasted money. The Green New Scam, all of the different things they spent money on. And you've seen that. You've seen that with some of the things that I read in speeches. I read them and people can't believe when I read them. 20 million here, 30 million here for, a little educational course on something. Circumcision, right? Circumcision. $20 million to inform the people of such and such a country on other things and other things other than that. So, those.
Like, one of my favorite things about the Democrats is they didn't do the Green New Deal. They didn't do Build Back Better, which was the compromise of the compromise of the compromise. And what does Donald Trump talk about? Does he talk about Build Back Better? Does he talk about what the Democrats didn't do or what they failed to do? No, he talks about the Green New Deal because he knows, and everybody in that room knows, and all conservatives and billionaires know, is that the plans that Bernie Sanders proposed, not only were they effective, it would have changed society in a fundamental way that would have removed their power or significantly curtailed it. And they understand that. They understand it as the actual threat, which is why they spend their time talking about it, not talking about the dumb bullshit Democrats, you know, centrists bring up, because they know it's not a threat and it's not going to change anything.
Those people are, right now we're trying to find out who those people are that haven't responded. Now there'll be some agencies, like Marco has people within state that are right now doing very classified, very confidential work, and we understand that. We've talked, and you know, we're being a little more surgical. And Marco's doing a lot of things himself. He's and some of the secretaries are. We're going to be going to them. We're going to be talking about it today. We're going to ask them to do their own Doge. In other words, they'll look in their group, and I spoke with Lee Zeldin, and he thinks he's going to be cutting 65% or so of the people from environmental, and we're going to speed up the process too at the same time. You had a lot of people that weren't doing their job. They were just obstructionists, and a lot of people that didn't exist, I guess, Lee, too. You found a lot of empty spots that the people weren't there. They didn't exist. I think education is going to be one of those. You go around Washington, you see all these buildings for the Department of Education. We want to move education back to the states where it belongs. Iowa should have education. Indiana should run their own education. You're going to see education go way up. Right now, we're ranked at the very bottom of the list, but we're at the top of the list in one thing: the cost per pupil. We spend more money per pupil than any other country in the world. And yet it's Denmark and Norway, Sweden, and I hate to say this, and you know, we're going to get along very well with China, but it's a competitor. They're at the top of the list. They're among the top 10 usually, and they're a very big country, so we can't use that as an excuse, right? Because we're a very big country too, but we were ranked last time under Biden. We were ranked 40 out of 40. They do the 40 certain nations that they've done for a long time. It seems to be 40 for whatever reason. And we were ranked number 40. A year ago we were 38, then we were 39. We hit 40. And so we're last in that, and we're first in cost per pupil. So I would say that's unacceptable. Lawrence, you have something? Go ahead.
Mr. President, I know you like competition, and I know it's early, so which department are you most impressed with? And then so this that's the first one. Which department have you received the most resistance from?
Well, I think both of those questions are a little bit...
Isn't the Chinese education system done by the federal government? If you want to understand why China's education system is so good, the larger meaning of China's crackdown on school tutoring. They banned private tutoring, and then they heavily regulated it. The Chinese film American Dreams in China, released in 2013, was an instant box office hit in China, capturing the country's optimism about Western-style entrepreneurship. It tells the story of a young man who lands a seat at a prestigious university in Beijing and launches a wildly successful tutoring company called New Dream. Like, this is, oh my God. China's latest lesson for private tutors includes harsh fines, tighter licensing requirements. Fines of up to $13,710 for unlicensed operators are part of reforms to rein in what had been a frothy private education industry. New rules to take effect next month follow Xi Jinping's directive to rectify the education system. This is the opposite of what they're doing in America.
You're a pretty controversial guy. Look, it's very early. Right now, I think I'm impressed with everybody. So far, everybody. If I wasn't in the first month, and some of them just got here, they just got approved 2 days ago, right? But I think I'm very impressed with everybody. So far, I'm very happy with all of the choices. I think that Elon has done incredibly with some groups, and some groups are much easier than others. It is true. State is a, very difficult situation. We're right now negotiating very successfully, I think, with Russia and with Ukraine. And
Chuck D's, thank you for the 10 tier 1s. We're dangerously close to a hype train, chat. And when we have a hype train, the top sub gifter and the top bit donor, this is so boring. This is so fucking boring. Am I bored? Are you bored? These people are fucking boring.
Countries involved, and we have to be a little bit careful what we do.
But as I predicted, Donald Trump... Well, you know what's really wild, chat? You know what's fucking wild? Is right before the election, people were like, aren't you concerned that Trump is going to be worse on foreign policy? And I was like, no. Hammond Fist, thank you for the 20 tier 1. Chat, we have a hype train, the top sub gifter and the top bit donor. You get the hype train conductor badge next to your name. For as little as 200 bits right now, you can get the golden locomotive that then becomes a purple locomotive you get to keep permanently. So you could sub, resub, use a Twitch Prime sub, gift a sub, or give at least 200 bits right now. And you have a chance of getting that Hype Train Conductor badge. Wow. Okay, what was I saying? So I said, I actually think it's very likely that Donald Trump ends the war in Gaza and the war in Ukraine and is up for a Nobel Peace Prize. And I don't like it. I think that would be terrible, but that is likely. Now, Trump is going out there and saying he wants to do Trump Gaza because he's an unhinged freak. But Trump Gaza isn't going to happen because the American puppet Arab states, Chuck D, thank you for the 25 gifties. They understand that that is a non sequitur. That is a non-starter, rather. That is a non-starter with their population. If they brought in millions of Palestinian refugees into Egypt, that would destabilize the government instantly. Same thing with Jordan. There's no way that they're going to allow that to happen. Similarly, the annexation of Gaza by Egypt, or the annexation, they're not the West Bank, the Israelis want to take for themselves. But that is a reality that's not going to change. But quite frankly, I mean, if you're looking at from the perspective of a leftist internationally, it is shocking how their incompetence is creating so much more opportunity abroad. Read on that ugly ass AI video, Trump Gaza. Oh yeah, Netanyahu and Trump at a resort pool. Trump just wants to make money and be successful and own shiny things made of gold. Yes. A shop filled with gold statues of him in every conceivable shape and size. And all of you evangelicals, you absolute dig dogs, this is the God you're actually worshiping. A literal gold statue of the Antichrist erected in the new kingdom of Trump. I mean, what is this? Is this supposed to be hummus? It's like, it's like, what is this slop supposed to actually be? Raining money down on you. Yeah, like the sexualization of women, of like Arab women, the orientalizing of like Arab culture, this like stripper belly dancer figure being posted by the president. Like this is with his pants on her. Like this is like America has actually become like it's crazy how the boomers have managed to keep power as their brains notably and visibly decline.
We're terminating, but Marco is doing that I think he's going to be very precise. It's going to be, we're cutting down government. We're cutting down the size of government. We have to. We're bloated. We're sloppy.
First measles death and reported Texas outbreak.
Doing their job.
Yeah, this is Houston. A school-age child in Texas has died after contracting measles. Sorry, it's the South Plains region of Texas. Sorry to correct myself. Was found to have a K-12 vaccine exemption rate of 78 or 48%.
A lot of people that don't exist. You look at Social Security as an example. I mean, you have so many people in Social Security where, if you believe it, they're 200 years old. And what we're doing is finding out are checks going out for that. And is somebody cashing those checks who's maybe 35 years old, okay? So there's a lot of dishonesty, there's a lot of fraud. But I think at this moment, I'll take Elon off the spot. I think that he's impressed. He said it very well, better than I can say it, that he's impressed with the people in this room, very impressed. And I am too, and it's too early to say, but I think everybody's on board. They all know. We want to balance a budget. We want to have a balanced budget within a reasonably short period of time, meaning maybe by next year or the year after, but maybe even sooner than that.
Mr. President, your number one issue was the border. We just got new information that they're doxing our federal agents. They're putting their personal information out there, these activists, and they're disrupting the operation. So you got Trinidad Iger running off.
Well, we have activists, that's true. And a lot of those,
what are we going to do about the activists?
Yeah, a lot of those activists are acting illegally, and we'll give that to our Attorney General, and she'll take a look at that very strongly. But we also having tremendous support from Border Patrol, from ICE. The ICE agents have been unbelievable. Border Patrol, their leadership at Border Patrol has been incredible, and their work.
Millennials truly are the left-wing cuck generation. Corbynites is inside. The boomers are evil and win because they have no actual competition. Millennials are afraid of being mean. I mean, I think you're correct. I don't know what else to say. I think that like millennials have good politics, but they have no fight. Boomers have all terrible politics, but they're evil, self-centered bastards, ruthless. you know. And Gen Z is our iPad kids. Their brains are mush. Like, with all due respect to the Gen Zers, your brains are mush. And then of course Generation Alpha is like skibidi toilet 24/7. So, you know, that's not good. The Social Security checks to my dead people pisses me off. When my dad died, they paid him after he died, and then they took the money back out of his account. Yeah, of course. That's what, of course, they do.
Working very well.
Have you seen the Trump AI? How are the Zoomers brain damaged? Who do you think programmed the AI? Who do you think programmed the slop AI? Millennials and Gen Z. We're to blame. Dr. Brainsluck, thank you for the 20 tier 1s. Let's fucking go. Gen X? No. Gen X is dying from lead poisoning.
As you know, and I saw you reporting it this morning, actually, we set records on the least number of illegal aliens coming in, migrants coming into our country that we've had in more than 50 years. And we did this all within a period of weeks because we took over a mess. The world was pouring in. And remember, they were coming in from jails and prisons and mental institutions and insane asylums, and they were gang members and drug dealers. Anybody wanted to come in, they came, and from not just South America, from all over the world. So it's amazing what they've done, and Christie and Tom Holman, the job they've done has been absolutely amazing. We set records for, and we want people to come into our country, by the way, but they want to come in, they have to come in legally. I want that to be really understood. We want people in our country, but they have to come in legally.
Can I follow on that, Mr. President, about the Trump gold card idea that you unveiled yesterday?
I hope you liked it.
I have way more information, but the question is, does this reflect a view on your part that the American immigration system has never been properly monetized as you feel it should be?
Well, not so much monetized. It hasn't been properly run. I get calls from, as an example, companies where they want to hire the #1 student at a school. A person comes from India, China, Japan, lots of different places, and they go to Harvard, the Wharton School of Finance, they go to Yale, they go to all great schools, and they graduate #1 in their class, and they're made job offers, but the offer is immediately rescinded because you have no idea whether or not that person can stay in the country. I want to be able to have that person stay in the country. These companies can go and buy a gold card, and they can use it as a matter of recruitment. At the same time, the company is using that money to pay down debt. We're going to pay down a lot of debt with that. And I think the gold card is going to be used by, not only for that, I mean, they'll be used by companies. I mean, I could see Apple. I've spoken with Tim Cook, and by the way, he's going to make a $500 billion investment in the country only because of the results of the election. And I think because of tariffs. He's going to want to be in the country because of tariffs. Because if you're in the country, there is no tariff. If you're out of the country, you got to pay tariffs. And that's going to be a great investment, I think, that he's making. I know it's going to be a great investment. But we have to be able to get people in the country, and we want people that are productive people. And I will tell you, the people that can pay $5 million, they're going to create jobs. They're going to spend a lot of money on jobs. They're going to have to pay taxes on that, too. So they're going to be hiring people. They're going to be bringing people in and companies in. And I don't know, maybe it will sell like crazy. I happen to think it's going to sell like crazy. It's a bargain. But we'll know fairly soon. I think Howard and
Bill, investing in America is absolutely hilarious. Worst infrastructure, collapsing educated workforce, poor public health system, no access to rare earth minerals, just a aging energy grid. Can you imagine investing in the US? It's a dog shit, falling apart society. The only thing we have an advantage of is lawyers and bankers.
Scott, a few of you really are responsible for it, but Howard, have you...
All right, chat, I'm bored. This is too boring for me. We're going to just watch. We're going to get into something else. Mexico used to have a party very similar to the Democrats called the PRD. The left had abandoned it to create a party called Morena. This is the result. An 80% approval rating after 5.5 years in power. Now it is time for the American left to do the same. New poll just dropped of Mexico. Claudia Sheinbaum's approval rating has climbed to 80% approve, 11% disapprove. Where was that first chatter earlier in the stream saying support for Morena was falling? Yeah. White gringo mad that their taxes are going up to build housing. It's crazy because I've heard even liberals acting like she's really she's terrible, the polls are fake, and that Mexicans really hate her. Yeah, would be fake. She pledged to build 1 million homes with 0% interest mortgages. 1 million homes with 0% interest mortgages. It's Morena, it's not a long E. Sorry, I'm stupid. All right, chat. It's time. Snarkers in. Snarkers in. We're making fun of Ethan Klein. But before we start, I wanted to show you guys, like, this is I had another thing open and I like clicked off. I hate when I do that. Here it is. Okay, I found it. It's from friend of the show, Comrade Lamb. The grotesque politics of Ethan Klein. What's crazy about this being Hasan's final straw is that this was like 5 straws ago. Ethan's been far more mask off about his support for the state of Israel since announcing he's taking a trip there.
In which Ethan Klein doesn't deny loving Israel or genocide. Why would I need to? First of all, I do love Israel, but why would I love genocide? When have you seen? Why would I need to deny that I'm against genocide? Like, it's just fucking dumb. Can you show me a single bit of evidence that I'm pro-genocide? I'm still waiting. But yes,
you said you supported Yoav Gallant with your wife and that he was a good guy. Yoav Gallant was indicted by the International Criminal Court for war crimes and persecution of Palestinian people. He was the defense minister, the guy directly involved with creating the conditions that now persist in Gaza, that multiple international, I think it's like almost every genocide scholar in the world, almost every single international human rights organization has now claimed is a genocide. What the fuck are you talking about, Ethan? You're going to do a publicity tour for Israel while they're doing a genocide. Like, what are you talking about?
I love Israel. Does that make me a bad person? What's wrong with loving the place that you live, that your family's from, that your wife grew up in?
You don't live there. You don't live there. You live in Beverly Hills.
What do you mean? Loving Israel? What do you mean? What's wrong with loving Israel?
They're doing an apartheid. They have an apartheid walls everywhere. They're stealing land from indigenous people who they deny self-determination to. They're committing mass murder and wars of aggression on multiple neighbors. Like right now, Israel is attacking Damascus, even though the new U.S.-aligned former Al-Qaeda leader has declared neutrality toward Israel. And Israel is attacking Damascus as we speak. What are you talking about? What's wrong with loving Israel, the war criminal state that violates every single aspect of contemporary international law, where they target children intentionally with sniper bullets?
Is that inherently an evil thing? Seems fucking insane. An insane statement. Ethan, quote, not Zionist Klein, talks about how free the apartheid state of Israel feels before he calls me a liar. I wish I was lying. Bro, yeah. I said I'm going to Israel. I can't wait to show you guys how I see it. Have you been to Israel? Like, have any of these people actually been to Israel?
It's like a white person saying, I'm going to take you down to Jim Crow South and show you how white it feels. Excuse me, how free it feels for white people. All right, chat. The boogeyman. This is how I know. If I want to say something about Ethan Klein, I will know that he will not clip it if I have Bad Empanada in the background or I'm playing a Bad Empanada clip. I can say whatever the fuck I want about Ethan and he will never show it because he's scared shitless. Bad Empanada went through over the entire Ethan Klein nuke. The entire Ethan Klein nuke. 4 hours of debunking. And he humiliated. He showed you how pathetic and fraudulent the nuke so-called content puke was.
It's pretty clear by now that you should expect nothing from Ethan Klein, and it's mind-boggling that he continues to claim that he is pro-Palestinian, and it's even more mind-boggling given what he said on another idiotic podcast of his a couple of days ago. So Ethan Klein loves to claim that he is not a Zionist, and also that he's pro-Palestine, in spite of, all the evidence showing that he very much isn't. It's generally not normal for someone who's pro-Palestine to spend literally all of their time just attacking anyone who is pro-Palestine. Klein, and who opposes literally every single pro-Palestinian action ever, basically. He outright said that he wants to go to Israel and, like, I guess make content to prove to everyone that there's no apartheid there. You know, it's actually a really nice country. Everything there is great. All in the wake of Israel doing an outright genocide in Gaza. Like, he didn't seem to care about Israel that much before. If anything, he sort of shit on it before October 7th. Like, you know, he'd moved there and he didn't really like it that much. That's obviously why he ended up moving back to the USA. But now he feels like this special connection with Israel. He wants to start selling.
He was a passport bro. He had to get, you know, Ethan Klein wasn't going to find his, you know, a spouse in America. So, you know, his mom basically told him to, you know, propose to Hila using, you know, and he ended up doing it while on the shitter. I wish this was fake, but Ethan Klein, like, put his engagement ring in wet wipes and, like, went and took a shit and then told Hila to bring him wet wipes in the middle of the shit, and she brought him the wet wipes and he told her to open the wet wipes and that the ring was in there. Hold on. Oh, excuse me. He called them butt wipes, not wet wipes.
Today.
By the way, this is why he got famous, chat. This is why he got famous. People were laughing at him, you know? Oh, he called them baby wipes, chat.
I was like really into baby wipes. It was like a revolution in my life. And I thinks to myself, wouldn't it be so funny if I put the ring like in the pack of baby wipes? That'd be so surprising, right? And so this sounds worse. This sounds worse than I remember.
I never tell this story anymore. Like, whenever you meet with girls, they all want to hear the fun story of how you were proposed.
Now we're telling everybody.
And I'm like, just forget I'm here. Move on to the next person.
He asked and I said yes.
And it's like, oh, my boyfriend took me to the beach and then there was horses waiting for us. And we went on a horseback ride, and then there was a table with dinner at the beach waiting for us. And it's all recorded. There's like 5 people recording them.
Yeah, but you're not that kind of girl. I knew that.
I don't care about that stuff.
You didn't want that. I knew that. Yeah, but you're right. Most proposal stories are like, we jumped out of a plane.
Yeah.
Wisdom is made of. Put the ring in the baby wipes, and I went in the bathroom. I didn't actually poop. I pretended to poop.
You pretend to poop now.
Yeah, I was in there. I was pretending to poop, and I said, "Hila, can you bring me the baby wipes?" She's like, "Where is it?" It's in the dresser next to the bed. She's like, "Okay, it's fucking a little strange. So bring me the baby wipes." So she comes in with the baby wipes, and I was expecting her for some reason to see the ring already.
Yeah, or
it fit, like, even in my most simple plan failed. I thought she'd see the ring and be like, "Oh, he's asking me to marry me in the dumbest way possible."
Just in your mind's eye, imagine this: he's on the toilet with his pants all the way around his ankles. He tells his girlfriend to get baby wipes. She brings it to him, and it just fails. It just fails completely. People think I'm making up stories about Ethan, but I'm not. I mean, this is just... Can I please unimagine this? No, you can't. You have to imagine it.
Telling it to people as like this awesome place. So let me show you another excellent pro-Palestinian action by Ethan Klein.
We're planning to go to Israel in June with my parents and all the kids. It's going to be such a great trip. And I'm actually really excited to go there. I want to show you guys...
You haven't been there in so long.
It's been a long fucking time. What I want to do is show you guys how I see Israel, because you don't see that. When you listen to Hasan and you hear all these fucking mega lefties talking about it like it's some super racist, like crazy, like Jim Crow style of society. Like, I can't wait to show you guys how beautiful, how multicultural, how like free it feels for people, or just it's a beautiful place. It is. It's one of the most diverse places I've ever been.
So that right there is Ethan Klein outright saying that he is going to Israel in order to make like pro-Israel puff piece content to try and sell it to people as like this awesome, beautiful place where everything is actually really nice.
He's just literally going to do propaganda for Israel. Not a Zionist, by the way. Remember when he got mad for people saying that Ethan Klein is a Zionist? Remember that, chat? Remember when he used to yell at us for saying, hey, I think Ethan Klein might be a Zionist. Ethan, I will only take my family on vacation when I think I will own Hasan. Also, the idea of I'm going to bring my family and children to Israel and we need to do a genocide because it's a war zone. It's such a threat. Wait a minute. Are the Palestinians a dangerous terrorist population that's putting every Israeli in fear of their life? Or is it totally fine apartheid state where the rich, powerful Israelis are committing a genocide against the subjected settler, subjective native population? Which is it, Ethan? I don't understand the point. Like, I thought that the violence and uncontrollability of the Palestinian Arabs made it necessary to commit genocide and apartheid against them. It's almost like he's lying about everything. The enemy is both weak and strong. Yeah, weird.
And there's, as he outright said, that there's nothing Jim Crow, there's no segregation, there's no apartheid, there's nothing bad at all, actually. And this is all in the wake of the fucking Gaza genocide. Like, Ethan Klein is so pro-Palestinian that he wants to reward Israel for doing genocide. He doesn't think that you should boycott it. He wants to go there, do tourism, and film videos about how great and awesome Israel is in reaction to that. That's probably the most pro-Palestinian thing I've ever seen in my life. Wow, great job, dude. And just to say something that I've said many times before. Obviously, Israel is fucking great for someone like Ethan Klein, this American who moved there, got automatic citizenship just for an accident of his birth, just because he happens to be Jewish. Obviously, how he sees Israel is going to be great. I mean, he's like a member of the ethnic majority of like the group who this ethno-state, that's what Israel is, like an ethno-state that gives racial privileges to Jews. He's a member of that majority. Obviously, Israel should be great for him. But you know who it's not great for?
Luigi Mangioni's lawyers warn supporters their photos are being screened. A note on the FAQ page of Mangioni's Legal Defense Fund also asked his supporters to temporarily refrain from sending books. Okay, this is what you need to know. If you're sending nudes to Luigi, the cops are looking at your nudes. Too many books and too many nudes. Average leftist. So just stop, this is a PSA. If you were thinking of sending a cock shot to Luigi, just know that you're really sending it to the prison guards that are probably ogling you and sharing it. So just be careful. Honestly, sending nudes is like a bad idea in the 21st century. It just is at this point. Like, being a real talk. What if I want to make the guards jelly? Well, at least you know what you're doing.
The millions of Palestinians
It's really weird. He used to talk about what a shithole Israel was, talk about the horrible conditions they lived in, but now it's a beautiful place full of yada yada. He definitely never made it seem like it enjoyed there ever. Well, because Ethan Klein is a genocidal Zionist, and that's just an objective description of his politics. He hates the fact that anybody is criticizing what Israel is doing to Palestinians. That's it.
These privileges exist at the cost of. Like, this guy is straight up like a white guy in the American South in 1940 telling you how, I don't understand this stuff about segregation and the racism and stuff. You know, the Southern US is actually pretty fucking great. You guys just aren't seeing it how I'm seeing it. It's really nice here. It's a beautiful country, such nice people. It's so diverse too. Like, look, forget about the black people out of frame. We get migrants here from all over the place. You know, we got Norwegians, we got the Irish, we got the Italians. It's such a great place for me. And if you only listen to those goddamn idiot anti-racist leftists, as they call themselves, you would think it was like this horrible place of apartheid and Jim Crow and segregation. But I want you to see it how I see it. It is the exact same fucking thing. Ethan Klein is like this rich white Jewish guy who voluntarily chose to move to Israel to receive privileges at the cost of Palestinians, to live on land stolen from Palestinians. And now he wants to go back to Israel in the wake of it doing an outright genocide. And he wants to do like public relations puff pieces on its behalf to disprove everyone who tells you that Israel, you know, which just did genocide, by the way, I have to keep reiterating that, to show you that in spite of all the bad things that everyone says about Israel, you know, this genocidal ethno-state that exists at the cost of one group of people for the benefit of another group of people, he wants to show you all how great and awesome that country actually is. I can already tell you precisely how this is going to go down. He's going to go there and he's going to try to find like one or two Palestinian citizens of Israel who are willing to like take money, or perhaps like Yosef Haddad or one of those famous propagandist collaborator guys. He's going to go and talk to them and he's going to be like, hey man, let's go around together and prove to everyone how in Israel there's actually no segregation and no apartheid because you a Palestinian or an Arab also live here. It's nothing like those fucking lefty crazies say. It's just so predictable. He's gonna like go around and be like looking at the landscape and stuff and say like, wow, this place is so beautiful. Take a look at these beautiful olive trees. Ignore the fact that we burn those.
You know what I want to do, chat? You know what I want to do? I want every one of my LA area people, we need to start showing up. I would love to like just roll into a local socialist organizing meeting with like 50 people or 25 people. I don't want you all to just join on your own though and just kind of like get swept up into whatever internal bullshit is going on. I want us to go in there and just smash whatever the internal dynamics are and just like completely disrupt the dumb infighting and circular firing squad bullshit. I think that would be very fun. What are the chances he pulls out "We Made the Desert Bloom"? I mean, I'm surprised he hasn't already said it. Ethan's going to do the Michael Rappaport bullshit and go to Israel and be like, where's the apartheid? Yes, that's exactly what he's going to do.
The Palestinians. Ultimately, Ethan Klein is not only a dumbass, but an exceptionally callous one. What he's doing here is no different to someone with like German ancestry going to Germany in like 1935 to write like a gushing journalistic article about how awesome Germany is and how you shouldn't listen to what they say about what Germany's doing to the Jews and how it's actually really beautiful and the people there are so nice and things are going so well for them under the new Führer. We need to look at this as precisely what it is. This is someone who wants to do genocide propaganda. It's someone who wants to do colonial propaganda. It's someone who wants to whitewash apartheid, who wants to whitewash oppression, who wants to whitewash this colonial ethno-state that exists for the benefit of people like him at the expense of millions of other people. It's so fucking insane, too, that he claims to be pro-Palestine. And I get comments to this day from absolute morons saying that he's pro-Palestine because you said Netanyahu is bad and he donated $6,000 to a charity once. And then here he is.
Which is less than me, by the way. I gave 10,000. Ethan gave 6,500. Like 6,500 is like not even one sponsorship on one video for him. Like, goddamn, what a cheapskate. Why did he give 6,500 too? That's such a random number. Like, there has to be more to the 6,500 number. Ethan gave $5,000 for a buck-toothed British dude to eat a hot chip. Embarrassing.
Right fucking here being like, you know, I'm going to break the boycott of Israel. I'm going to go do tourism there. Not only that, but I'm going to film like a propaganda piece about how awesome Israel is for me and mine. Never mind the fact that the whole problem that people have with Israel has nothing to do with people saying that it's bad for Jews like me. That Israel is good for you, that is, you find it beautiful and awesome all of a sudden, though. Again, that contradicts what he has said in the past about how much he hated living there. Doesn't say shit about the reason why people hate Israel. The reason why people hate Israel is because millions of people need to be dispossessed, oppressed, and massacred for it to be so great for people like you. I mean, just look at what Ethan Klein actually said when he was living in Israel.
If there was a donation leaderboard, he regularly donates just enough to be at the top. Oh, classic.
And just to be clear for the YouTube censors, what I'm about to show you is hate speech, and I denounce it entirely. I'm showing it for documentary purposes, and I completely disavow every single thing that Ethan Klein says in this clip.
And it's the home of the Jew, the Jewy Jew, not just this Jew like, you know, me or Ela, but this is home of the super Jew, the Jew, the, you know, the dirty, grimy, jacket-wearing Jews.
Jesus.
Real dirty ass. Nasty. You know what I mean? It's like, who can look more Jewish? Boom. It's like it doesn't end. I mean, come on.
So does that sound like someone to you who loved Israel and thought it was a beautiful place with lots of beautiful people and no segregation and nothing bad? Or does it sound like someone who looked out the window in Israel and hated everything they saw in the most vile way possible, in fact? Because to me it sounds like the latter. But now Ethan Klein has rediscovered his previously non-existent love for Israel only after Israel has done genocide and presently is attacking the West Bank with tanks. They have ethnically cleansed 3 refugee camps in the West Bank in the last week or so. And Ethan Klein's reaction to the Gaza genocide, to the complete destruction of Gaza, to the ongoing Israeli attacks on the West Bank is to be like, you know, Israel's actually not bad at all. Israel's actually a really good country, and these goddamn crazy lefty fucks who tell you it's apartheid, you know what? I'm going to go there and I'm going to prove them wrong. I'm going to show you that Israel is actually really awesome. The only thing that changed from Ethan in that clip to Ethan now is that he saw Israel doing out and out open genocide, and he liked what he saw, and his opinion on Israel has changed to be more positive now. That really is the only way to interpret this. Now he wants to go and do a propaganda pro-Israel puff piece. What more is there to say about this? Anyone who says that this guy is pro-Palestinian, honestly, don't even know what to say to those fucking people. Like, how do you convince someone who just lives in an alternate reality like that? How do you convince...
I think one of the things that I would say about Ethan Klein and his fans in general is they don't care about politics. And most of the people who attack Hasan do not care about politics, okay? They don't care about politics. It's very weird because if you're a person who cares about politics, you are not ready to encounter this type of brain. And this is a strategy that the far right has deployed very well. That's why they hate Hasan so much. There's a reason why they attack Hasan so much and not other left-wingers who are in politics. Do you know why? It's the same reason they attack AOC more than other young progressives. Do you know why? He's cool and hot, but that isn't why they're attacking him. They're attacking Hasan because he is operating in spaces the far right are trying to take over for themselves in a strategy they call metapolitics. Basically, the strategy of the far right, and this is something that people in the AFD and Steve Bannon both talk about quite a bit, is they're trying to get into spaces what they call the pre-political spaces. A perfect example of that is a Twitch stream, a Twitch gaming space, right? They have that as a pre-political space, and they're trying to create a narrative that DEI is ruining video games. So you're going to an apolitical space, a space that's focused around a hobby, playing video games, and then turning that into a conservative and far-right reactionary political space by showing a problem, addressing a problem, a perceived problem in that community, which is the declining quality of video games, the proliferation of gacha games, the proliferation of loot boxes and unfinished beta releases and all that shit, right? People, there's a problem with video game. The problem is capitalism. So far-right fascists see this apolitical space. They see a problem within it that can be traced back to capitalism, and they occupy that space with propaganda in order to prime people to become fascist politically. And they call that metapolitics. And it's a metapolitics, the idea of politics is not just what programs you offer people in political campaigns. It's a social and political milieu. And that is what they are doing. And so why they get so mad at Hasan is he operates in those spaces as a left-winger. Hasan is a left-winger who likes anime. Hasan is a left-winger who's playing video games. Hasan is one of the largest streamers on Twitch. So what do far-right people want to do? They've got to go after him because he's contesting the pre-political space. That's why he occupies so much frustration by reactionaries. Same thing with AOC. AOC going to the drag show, or AOC on Instagram, and AOC on the red carpet and things like that. That is occupying a pre-political space for women, right? There's a lot of women that are going to watch AOC, and instead of being just brain dead Democrats, they might actually have been more attracted to a more radical form of politics. That's why AOC has gotten so much heat. And there's also a psychosexual element for both of them, being, young, attractive, sexually attractive people that people want to fuck. And it's gross to say, but it is reality. They fixate. And this is the reality, is why, they're so important, right? Bernie Sanders, I love him, but he isn't operating in these spaces. He's being brought into these spaces because so many young people see the policies he supported and they were like, yes, I love this idea. And they brought Bernie Sanders into the pre-political spaces. They politicized so many spaces with pro-Bernie stuff. They did that on their own. That's why it was so effective, because Bernie wasn't doing it. And but Asmongold is operating in part of, he's operating as a foot soldier for Steve Bannon. He's operating as a foot soldier for Chinese gold farmers. You hate the bots in World of Warcraft? Asmongold did that. Asmongold is aligning himself with the people that put gold farming bots into World of Warcraft. That's who he's aligned with politically. And he doesn't. And so if you care about video games, you have to despise Asmongold. But it doesn't matter. The thing is, I am an actual gamer. I just don't use it for my content. I don't use it to like take advantage of you people.
Someone who believes that post-genocide, it's acceptable to go to Israel and do a like pro-Israel puff piece where you deny the existence of Israeli apartheid and tell everyone how awesome Israel is right after it does genocide while still claiming to be pro-Palestinian. Like how do you possibly convince someone who believes that this guy is not pro-Palestinian? If it's not this that finally makes them realize that, after all the other stuff that already makes it obvious, then what you've got there isn't a rational human being. It's a fucking pathetic, obsessed fan, or just like someone trying to whitewash Israeli propaganda consciously. There's no rationality involved. And, you know, no point trying to convince those morons. I just find it fucking hilarious that he does this shit and just openly said, I'm doing this because I want to disprove the idea that there's segregation in Israel. I want to show you how beautiful and diverse it actually is. The same sort of thing that like a white American settler would happily say in like, you know, 1850. They try to tell you that, you know, there's this horrible slavery and like native genocide here on the Western frontier. That's bullshit though. That's bullshit. There's no apartheid here. Those slavers are down there in the South. They're not here. And let me tell you, we're mighty diverse here. After all, I live on stolen Indian land, and my neighbor, he's from Ireland. My other neighbor, he's from Italy. So how can you say that we're a racist country, given how clearly inclusive we are? It's just ridiculous, man. I'm so pro-Palestinian that I'm going to reward Israel for doing genocide, a genocide which I claim to have been against, by not only breaking BDS by going there and doing tourism in Israel immediately following this genocide, but also by straight up doing pro-Israel propaganda in the course of this. What a ridiculous moron. And the people who follow him can only be ridiculous morons themselves.
I'm Israeli. I know that if Ethan talks to a single Israeli about Gaza or Palestine, he's going to get a reality check. Oh, God. The U.S. forced Ukraine to sign a mineral deal. By the way, chat, this is what everybody who said that Ukraine wasn't a puppet of the United States. What is this? This is the value of Donald Trump. The value of Donald Trump is he isn't different than every other president. He's just mask off. And that is the value. Is it because it radicalizes liberals? It radicalizes people who want to tell themselves, like, basically what Donald Trump does is he forces you to expose who you really are. If you're a person who cares about justice, if you're a person who cares about good public policy and humanity, are you a humanitarian? Are you somebody who believes in justice and equality and freedom? Then you're going to be radicalized by Trump to the left. If you are somebody who does that to virtue signal for your own gain, you're going to be radicalized to the right. You can see it right now with Asmongold. You can see that right now with Amaranth. And a lot of other people, they're being radicalized to be mask off. They're coming out and saying, yeah, it's good. It's good to steal the minerals from the Ukrainians. We love that shit. Take advantage of them. Use force. Yeah. Steal the Panama Canal. Invade Greenland. People are clear about who they are. It's not confusing, right? And that is what he represents. And a lot of people who like comfortably hiding who they really are don't like him because they're forced to reveal themselves. But if we are going to have things come to a head, if we're going to break to a new era of progressivism in a real sense, not just a bullshit virtue signaling sense. Disposition precedes ideology, not for me. Not for me. I think that's why I'm so attracted to a vanguardist, a revolutionary Marxist-Leninism, because it's the only ideology that lets me square all the circles of who I am. You know, like it's the only ideology that squares all the circles for me. And yet you reject it. Incorrect. You would be wrong. I do not. I'm just actually listening and reading what Lenin wrote and actually understanding it and applying it to the modern day instead of just doing things by rote repetition, but rather by re-deriving it and reapplying it. They were in different conditions, and so they made different actions. Did you see this? Here's a text on the back of Jake Tapper's and Alex Thompson's forthcoming book on Joe Biden. What the world saw at Joe Biden's one and only 2024 debate was not an anomaly. It was not a cold. It was not someone who was under or over prepared. It was not someone who was just a little tired. It was the natural result of an 81-year-old man whose capacities had been diminishing for years. Biden, his family, and his team let their self-interest and fear of another Trump term justify an attempt to put on, at times, addled old man in the Oval Office for 4 more years. What was the extent of it? Who knew about it? Was it a conspiracy? We will let the facts speak for themselves. Original sin, President Biden's decline, its cover-up, and his disastrous choice to run again. Speaking of Ukrainian TV, said the preliminary agreement envisages an investment fund will be set up for Ukraine's reconstruction. He said Ukraine would contribute 50% of future proceeds from state-owned mineral resources, gas, and oil to the fund, and the fund would then invest in projects for Ukraine itself. The U.S. would own the maximum amount of the fund allowed under U.S. law, but not necessarily all of it. On Tuesday, Trump said the U.S. had given Ukraine between $300 billion and $350 billion in aid, and he wanted to get that money back through a deal. He said Ukraine would not sign the deal until Zelensky and Trump agree on security guarantees and decide how to tie this preliminary agreement to a U.S. security guarantee. Trump said on Wednesday that the United States would not provide security guarantees beyond very much, saying responsibility for this fell to Europe. Kyiv estimates that 5% of the world's critical raw materials are in Ukraine. 19 million tons of proven reserves of graphite, which the Ukrainian Geological Survey state agency says makes the nation one of the top 5 leading countries for the supply of the mineral. Graphite is used to make batteries for electric vehicles. Also has significant deposits of titanium, lithium, and rare earth metals. Resources worth $350 billion remain in occupied territories today. Amazing. Texas official issues warning after rancher killed by cartel IED in Mexico. A terrorist attack, Sun says. United States to designate cartels as terrorist organizations. That's like interesting because that's going to put a lot of bankers underneath the terrorist supporting legislation. All right, chat. Now is the time to watch some of this response.
Okay, go ahead, King. But coming out and just doing the Hasbro that I've ever seen is unacceptable. Why don't you diminish the 2 kids that died again? Says Elian Aragon. I did not do that. As a matter of fact, I did not do that at all. You are a moron. I think you probably saw me laughing at the scary poster that Hamas had put forth, which showed that Benjamin Netanyahu looked like a villain, like a vampire. Okay? This is pure bad faith nonsense. You are okay? I am not someone who is an ultra-Zionist or a Zionist at all. I don't laugh at baby killings. You should take that up with other people, possibly in your social circle. Takes great joy out of the death and destruction of children. The likelihood that the Bibas children were also killed by an airstrike is still fairly high. I do not trust the Israeli government's initial assessment. I'm sorry. Ethan Klein uploaded a video claiming you laughed at them. I know. The funniest thing is, it doesn't even matter if the context is directly in the video. I've realized that a lot of people are so primed into refusing to understand the exact context in the video. Even if he doesn't clip me out of context. Or this is not just Ethan either. This is just everybody that does the same shit. Sometimes they will literally feature the context. Like the famous case of me saying, the likelihood of happening on October 7 does not change the dynamic for me even one bit, is literally me saying you cannot do a genocide on an entire population of people because of the likelihood of sexual assaults happening. Okay? That is the most normal statement of all time. You are a psychopath if you go, no, actually, genocide is valid. Will this all happen? Is that your argument? Why do you think it's appropriate? Is it appropriate to do genocide to an entire population of people? It's very interesting because seemingly these people are pro-Palestine too. Okay, but at the same time, not only are they pro-Palestine, but they're also simultaneously pro-genocide of Palestinians. Kind of crazy that you got to literally adjust the exact same thing over and over every single day. I know, these people are dumbasses who don't care either. AB and Dan pushed back and said you were laughing at the absurdity of the Nosferatu image of Netanyahu, but Ethan still didn't concede his point that you were laughing at the children. Yeah, because he doesn't care. He doesn't care about the truth. He doesn't care. He thinks this is good. He thinks this is good propaganda. He can't actively say he loves Israel and he loves everything that Israel is doing because there's too much shame in his heart to openly admit that. Okay? So he has to just do the...
I mean, no, I think he's starting to admit it, right? I think with Ethan Klein, most of the people who care about Palestinian rights have been pushed out of the community already. So I think he's ready, like he's absorbed as much of Destiny's viewers as he can. And I think Ethan is now like mentally in the place where he's just going to become a full-blown Israeli apologist Zionist. And you know, Ethan, I just want to let you know that you should go ahead and do that and be open about what you believe. It'll be very cathartic. Sure, you'll be like 25% the size you used to be, but you won't have to spend all this time lying anymore.
The opposite thing and basically say, I'm actually the only real pro-Palestinian person, and every other pro-Palestinian person, right. Actually, every other pro-Palestinian advocate is actually bad. Okay? They're bad. They're all bad. This is my entire advocacy for the past 16 months of genocide is going to revolve around on every single person that is pro-Palestinian. Yeah. It's also the, 1 year anniversary of Aaron Bushnell self-immolating in front of the Israeli embassy in Washington, D.C. I wonder what Ethan said about Aaron Bushnell. You know, because he's so pro-Palestine. I wonder what kind of things he said about that as a pro-Palestine guy. I'm so pro-Palestinian. I'm going to Israel to show everyone how multicultural and wonderful it is. That's how pro-Palestine I am. One of the grossest things I've seen from that community is constantly saying, you're pulling the genocide card. You want to know something really sad about that? Half of the instances where I was like, there's a genocide going on, chatters, I don't think this is relevant, was actually me defending Ethan. That's what's so stupid about it, because for the entire year, I didn't pay attention to what the he was saying about Aaron Bushnell, for example. I had no idea what he was saying because I thought it was unproductive. I kept repeating over and over again, foolishly, mind you, telling my chat not to care or consider what Ethan Klein was saying because there were more important things that were happening, like the genocide that was happening that we were covering. And that's what's really interesting about it. Now, cynically, he just uses all of those instances as he calls it the genocide card.
His Aaron Bushnell joke was when I stopped watching Ethan after 9 years. Well, that's because Ethan Klein is a vicious guy, right? Like for most people who have an empathetic bone in their body, there's only really two ways to approach Aaron Bushnell. The first is like a kind of profound sense of empathy where you're like, okay, this is a guy who killed himself in one of the most painful ways possible for the purpose of sending a message. I should listen to that message and judge it on its merits and look and see if there's, he has stood up and said something that will be seared into the history books, remembered forever. What would it take for me to do something that brave? And looking at that and going, okay, I respect him when we look into his message and then listen into the message. And the other way is this kind of like nihilistic, sociopathic approach, which I think a lot of people expose themselves, right? Because a lot of people would never die for anyone else. They would never, ever sacrifice for anything else. So when they see somebody doing something that profound, their immediate reaction is mirth. They think it's funny that somebody would give up their life for somebody else or someone else, especially someone that you don't know or something that you don't know. They find that to be funny and they enjoy thinking about it because it's not, for them, it's like, wow, somebody would do that? I might be able to manipulate people to do that for me. That's what Ethan Klein is laughing at. He's imagining manipulating people into killing themselves for his own gain. That's the only way he could approach the world. He has no respect or care or empathy or even there's no solemnity in his body. He can't look at that situation and go, that man sacrificed himself for other people. And that's an incredibly moving thing and incredibly painful to watch. And we should respect that sacrifice and look into it. And when you look into what Aaron Bushnell killed himself over, what he immolated himself over, it is a profound moral crime that our society is committing. If you look at the words of what he said and how he stood strong, even while on fire, incredible moment of bravery. I would never advocate that anybody commit self-harm, But what the self-immoliators have done in history is so, and I can't even conceptualize the amount of strength of character and will that took. It is almost unbelievable that we are in the same species. The amount of what that guy did. And I would never, ever, 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 ever tell you. I personally don't think that is a good strategy, because people like Ethan are in control of our society. They just check that off as one more enemy killed. They're killing 20,000 babies. You think one white man killing himself is going to change their mind? They kill babies by the bushel load. They are unmoved. So that is the reality. But Ethan Klein found that to be an object of mockery and mirth. That just tells you where his mind is at as far as like supporting the Palestinian cause.
Well, we're talking directly about the genocide. Maybe make an assessment on all of the instances where you've talked about Israel and Gaza and why you have so heavily focused on all of the people that are critical of Israel. It's so gross that people even say the genocide card. Careful for the next scary IG story incoming. I know. Not even a second where Ethan Klein or his community of otherwise progressive or what remains of his community and what remains of his community that used to be progressive ever think pull the genocide card is a insane thing to say. It is not a card that I'm using to deflect away from serious criticism. It's me quite literally saying, eyes on the prize. There is something more important happening here that you should be focusing on rather than petty ass drama. And for the better part of this past year, that was me telling my community not to focus on whatever Ethan Klein was saying, because I thought it was silly and unproductive. I kept repeating over and over again, hey, he posted on Instagram in 2021 about how he was critical of Israel. How foolish was I? Holy become a hateful, abusive, narcissistic monster over the course of a year. He did not understand that I was trying to defend him when we had those conversations, when I kept telling him like, hey, don't say stuff like this. I know you're pro-Palestine. Don't say stuff like this. People are going to misunderstand you. Turns out I was wrong. Yeah, in the words of Shonda Black, if your N-word compilation is longer than your advocacy for the Palestinian emancipatory movement, then you probably aren't pro-Palestine. Responding to criticisms over his mockery of Aaron Bushnell, Ethan Klein launches into a tirade directly out of the Hasbro playbook before inadvertently betraying his own cynical pandering. Why would you call me a Zionist when I have said all the things you want to hear from me?
That's the problem.
He just doesn't know what Zionism is. Ethan, I'm going to define Zionism from you as in the fairest way I know. Zionism is the belief that there should be a state in the Levant that has a special status for Jewish people that is above all other ethnic and religious groups. And it should do so by dispossessing the native population that already lives there. That is the Zionist belief. The Zionist belief is to form that nation state, a state that is a ethnic supremacist state, an ethno state, where a specific ethnicity, ethno-religion, is dominant over the others, where it has rights that they do not have. And that is Israel today. Now, this is a fact about Israel. In Israel, if you are an Israeli citizen, you are not permitted to marry a Palestinian and have them be granted residency rights or citizenship within Israel. If you are of Palestinian ethnicity, you are not permitted to convert to Judaism in Israel. These are facts. And these are racially biased facts. This isn't just like, oh, poor Jews were exterminated in the Holocaust. That's why we need to do an apartheid here. It is, oh, you are an Israeli and you want to marry a Palestinian. They don't have the right to come to this country. It is an ethno state. It is an apartheid state, and it does not grant equal status to its Israeli Jewish citizens. That is just a fact. And they've passed a nation state law that declared it a country for Jewish Israelis only. The citizenship tiers only go downwards. Gazans can't marry into West Bank citizenship, who can't marry into Jerusalem citizenship, and so on and so forth. Exactly. That's just a fact.
So extreme. My first reaction is this. It was absolutely insane how he stood the whole time. That was crazy. I didn't know how that's humanly possible.
again, not to put this uncouth, but he's a champ at learning a lot. I mean, that sounds bad, but he did it really good. Does that sound bad? We have to make levity of things. Does that sound bad that he was really good? I mean, but I mean that.
You gotta make levity of things. Can you imagine if somebody made a joke about Israelis dying well? The Israeli, like, can you imagine if somebody did that? Can you imagine? Like, it's just insane.
As a compliment. What the?
Can you elaborate on why you can't marry here? Israel's Knesset passes law barring Palestinian spouses. Legislators approve law denying naturalization of Palestinians from the West Bank and Gaza who are married to Israeli citizens. Israel's parliament passed a law. This was in 2022, before October 7th. Israel's parliament has passed a law denying naturalization to Palestinians from the occupied West Bank or Gaza married to Israeli citizens, forcing thousands of Palestinian families to either immigrate or live apart. The so-called citizenship law passed on Thursday just before the Knesset disbanded for the holiday recess by a 45-50 majority vote that crossed coalition opposition lines. It replaced a similar temporary order that first passed during the height of a Palestinian uprising in 2003. It was renewed annually until it expired last July when the Knesset failed to secure a simple majority needed to extend it. Prime Minister Naftali Bennett's Yamina party aligned with the far right-wing factions in the opposition to pass the legislation above the protests of more liberal parties inside and outside government. The combination of forces between the coalition and the opposition led to an important result for the security of the state and its fortification as a Jewish state, said Interior Minister Alet Shahid, a member of Bennett's party. Dozens of lawmakers in the 120-seat chamber did not cast votes on the highly divisive legislation. State of Israel is Jewish. Some Knesset members said it was intended to prevent a gradual right of return for Palestinian refugees driven from their homes or who fled during the 1948 war surrounding Israel's creation, all while Israel prepares to take in thousands of Ukrainian refugees. The state of Israel is Jewish and so it will remain, said Simcha Rothman of the far-right religious Zionist party, a member of the opposition who brought the law forward with Shahed. Today, God willing, Israel's defensive shield will be significantly strengthened. Vasilel Smotrich of the religious Zionist bloc said the law was a correct and good outline.
I'm angry about you weirdos. What did I do? My God, stop. They just say all I hear is Ethan no, but I don't understand what I've even said. Oh, chewing? Yeah, I'll stop that. Maybe they just talk about the chewing. Could that be?
Yeah, that's probably it.
Wait, what did I even say that to mean? Like, give me a break. Holy didn't think I do it because you want people to talk about it? Like that's what I'm doing. My point is this. First of all, I was stunned by the way that he stood through the whole thing. I mean, shit, that was wild. And really showed his true resolve to protest in that way. I can only imagine this.
Yeah, this was when there was backlash in his community towards a lot of the things that he was saying. Backlash that was organic, by the way, not backlash that I directed, because at the time when people would send me clips like this, I was like, I'm not going to watch that. I don't care. Okay? Just so you understand. At the time, when members of his community would come in here because, you know, post leftovers, people will be like, look at what Ethan said again. He's a Zionist, I promise. Okay? And I was like, hey guys, there's a genocide happening. I'm going to cover that instead. I don't really care about what Ethan Klein is saying about Israel or Palestine. He is not your enemy. And that's what I said over and over again for a year. Unimaginably charitable. And what did he do after all of that? He came after every single pro-Palestinian voice that was around me, that had ever worked with me in any capacity. And then he came after me too. And how did he come after me? With the most ridiculous clips. With the most ridiculous clips, claiming that I was, scary, hate America, only have America bad perspectives, using some of the silliest sourcing I've ever seen in my entire life. There's a point in which he says, when we were having a back and forth about the Uyghur re-education camps, where he's like, oh, well, aren't they organ harvesting and doing death camps and killing millions of Uyghurs? And I'm like, no, they're re-education camps, which I think is unacceptable. Okay. And that those re-education camps have actually closed down, according to an Associated Press article. He turned around and acted like there was no Associated Press article. The Associated Press quietly wrote an article that didn't get a lot of coverage in mainstream media about how, like, okay, well, you know, all the concentration camps have been closed now. Like, all the re-education camps are closed now in Xinjiang, and it's like very different. Very different vibes in Xinjiang, and now, you know, it's the tourism hour.
Let's see what the Associated Press actually had to say about this.
Dog, that's your fault. You didn't Google it. And what you did end up Googling didn't even correspond to the evidence that you suggested that the concentration camps, the death camps, were still ongoing. He was using newer articles that were working on information from prior to our conversation. Wonderful stuff. That's what happens when you,
Isn't this marriage thing essentially a form of eugenics? Yes. They want to control the population, racial composition of Israel. That's what they're fighting to control. Can you imagine having laws where they were like, no Mexicans can get citizenship in America, even if they marry Americans, because we want to make sure it's a white majority country. That's what they're doing in Israel. And that was passed by the so-called left-wing party.
6 months on ChatGPT trying to craft a compelling narrative about things that you don't understand. I heard some of the things that he said in his video, like how 1 million Israelis were displaced during the Nakba, which he calls the War of Israeli Independence, by the way. Okay. No, not 1 million Israelis, sorry. 1 million Jews were displaced forcibly. More Jews were displaced during the Nakba than Palestinians, he said.
The irony of this whole situation is that after the 1948 war, when Israel won the war to declare its independence, the Arab countries got super anti-Semitic against their own Jewish citizenry that had nothing to do with Israel. And as a result, they kicked them all out, 1 million plus of them, and forced them to go the one place they hated the most, Israel. And now those same people that forced them out of their homes are telling them they don't belong there. In fact, there was more Jews displaced than Palestinians during the Nakba. 1 million Jews.
That is the highest level of being misinformed. At that point, I don't even know if you're a Zionist or just a moron. Okay? That's what he said. And his dumbass audience of progressive individuals ate that up. That's what I'm frustrated by. That's what I'm insanely frustrated by. Ethan Klein, for better or for worse, did cultivate a relatively progressive community. And now he's just a Hasbara bot, farming that community into a more reactionary position on a genocide for an apartheid state. An apartheid state that he lived in and hated when he lived there. It's crazy. Like the level of historical revisionism in his anti-Hasan video is so insane. And people still unironically repeat that. Liberal-minded people repeat that. That is what frustrates me. People who are otherwise progressive turning around and being like, oh my God, if everything Ethan is saying in this video is true, and he says he's pro-Palestinian, then yeah, maybe there is definitely a lot of lying and obfuscation happening on Hasan's side. Insane. Literally has the Hamas Piker meme in the background of his entirety of his new video. Yeah, of course, that kind of it flies. Like no one will ever bat an eye at that. Okay, no one will ever bat an eye at that, dude. But God forbid you say Sabra hummus is dog. Oh my God, it's the peak of anti-Semitism. I stubbed my toe. This must be Hasan's anti-Semitism. People don't want to collaborate with me no more. Not because I've had an extended crash out in public in the funniest and saddest ways possible that everyone can see. Most people are still too afraid to ever openly disparage because you sick your fan base on everyone, no matter how big or small, including anonymous Redditors who are former fans of yours, trying to engage in frivolous lawsuits to just expressly dox people. Not because you think you're going to win these defamation suits, but specifically because you want to dox them and then openly talking about how you're going to tell every random person's immediate family members and places of employment that they're actually anti-Semitic for the crime of criticizing you.
There was more Jews.
What is this? Disinformation Tracker Content Nuke Part 2 Ethan Lied for Israel.
The 1948.
He claimed yesterday that you crashed out and you needed intervention and that you live a sadly lonely life just streaming. Yeah. If I'm crashing out because I responded to one goddamn tweet, if I tweeted twice, okay, because I saw something that I consider to be a bridge too far, which is obviously this tweet. If this tweet is crashing out, what the fuck is doing Instagram posts every single day and 8 or 10 videos virtually covering me every single podcast. What is that? We need a new term for that. If one tweet...
Honestly, Chad, I gotta say this. Like, Ethan Klein has so little motion. Like, I honestly don't even know when he makes an Instagram video about me or whatever. It just doesn't affect me at all. I'm out there, like, doing my normal shit, you know? Going about my life, going out in public, tweeting regular politics shit, making my streams every day, hanging out with my community, and there's no motion. It's like, damn, he's attacking me? I don't even notice.
After months and months of endless chirping.
But apparently he notices when I talk about him. It's like, apparently I have more motion than he does. Because he's, you know, he's pulling up clips of mine and talking about me on his show, and it's just like, damn, enemy of the show now. I'm an enemy of the show.
A crash out. What the f is this? Yeah, look at this crash out where I said, no way, the guy who ended his podcast over disagreements on Israel's genocide, who spent the last year trying to get every pro-Palestinian voice banned, is visiting Israel like Michael Rappaport. He's going to show us all that there's no apartheid. He even mentions me in this. He can't seem to get my name out of his goddamn mouth.
We're planning to go to Israel in June with my parents and all the kids. It's going to be such a great trip. And I'm actually really excited to go there. I want to show you guys.
You haven't been there in so long.
It's been a long time. What I want to do is show you guys how I see Israel, because you don't see that. When you listen to Hasan and you hear all these mega lefties talking about it like it's some super racist.
Yeah, dude, it's so crazy that these mega lefties like Hasan are calling Israel an apartheid state. I wonder what other mega leftists have called Israel an apartheid state. Oh, that's right, Nelson Mandela, dude. I don't know. I feel like he knows a thing or two about apartheid, don't you think? Mega leftist, dude. Nelson Mandela in Palestine, in his own words, on the 30th anniversary since his release from prison, the late South African leader remains an icon for the Palestinians. This was all the way back in 2020, this 30-year anniversary. I don't care about all the petty shit, okay? I don't care about all the petty shit. I do, however, care about, especially when we have a fascist administration with numerous tossing Sig Heils left and right as the administrative state is being blown to bits by billionaire parasites. I do care about one of the last remaining progressive communities turning into a reactionary hole because they're following the whims of a narcissistic madman who can't let go of his love and loyalty to this apartheid state, this settler colonial apartheid state currently conducting a genocide. That is a bridge too far. He openly stated that the PLO, he openly stated his support for the Palestinian Liberation Organization during a town hall meeting in the U.S. broadcast on the ABC channel. At the time, it was still regarded as a terrorist organization by U.S. and Israel. Okay? If you
know who else was still considered a terrorist at the time? Nelson Mandela.
An effort post video that does a historical dissection of the Hasbara slop, someone like Zach Foster, it would go so hard. Yeah, we identify with the PLO because just like ourselves, they are fighting for the right of...
This is the thing with Ethan. Ethan, is there any argument, is there any way you could ever change your mind? And I feel like you know and I know that the answer is no. If you can look out and see the genocidal apartheid that's being enacted in your name as an Israeli citizen today, and your main reaction to that is, I want to attack the people that say it's wrong. At a certain point, you and I both agree that you are just a committed Zionist apartheid supporter. And there's no argument that's going to make you change your mind, ever.
Self-determination. Arafat is a comrade in arms, and we treat him as such. In a 1977 speech on International Day of Solidarity with the Palestinian people, Mandela reaffirmed his support for Palestinian rights. We know too well that our freedom is incomplete without the freedom of Palestinians. In the West Bank, occupied Palestinian land.
Mission with them
Mm-hmm.
to like a terrorist city.
Yeah.
That was kind of a crazy story.
Yeah, my officers and like the soldiers in that brigade, they would go every night on a raid in Ramallah to arrest terrorists. And So I always saw them preparing for it and leaving, and then I would stay in the base. So one time I wanted to go with them just to experience it.
Why? You just were all of a sudden had an urge to go with them?
I just wanted to see what it's like.
Right.
I wanted to see it.
The same city that Ethan and Gila called a terrorist city, the city of Ramallah, okay? There is a Nelson Mandela statue. How ridiculous. I'm ashamed that there are so many people that straight up just dropped all of this stuff the moment that Ethan decided every single person that is a defender of Palestinian emancipation is bad and a terrorist. It's shocking. It's shocking how that turn happened. Like, what happened to individual thinkers? What happened to progressive-minded people? He just purged them from his community. And then in the process, those who remained, I guess, were just rabid sycophants.
It's like crazy, like Jim Crow style of society. Like, I can't wait to show you.
Yeah. Remember, he's talking about Israel. The mega leftists like Hasan are saying that Israel's a Jim Crow style society.
Like it's some super racist, like crazy, like Jim Crow style of society. Like, I can't wait to show you guys.
Please look at the insane post of the H3 subreddit. Okay, hold on. Google has buried this article. It looks like if you search her name in the news, is one of the captives was held at Gaza. We were held in... Yeah, I know. I saw that. Ethan Klein's attack on FOMOI. Why YouTubers threatening legal action against a celebrity culture subreddit, how it may affect your favorite Reddit pages. They're saying Slate is a mainstream outlet linked to Hasan. It's the most normie liberal news. It's like the most normie liberal fucking news site out there. Oh, that's so funny. This publication literally just wrote a puff piece about Hasan that Ethan took down. It wasn't a puff piece. It was a very balanced, full explanation of all the scandals that Hasan has been in. What are you even talking about? You don't know what puff piece means. You fucking dumbass. And here they are with another piece by Candace Lim and Kate Lindsay discussing Ethan's pushback against dark subs. They mentioned the usual crashing out, broke up over a minor disagreement. They gloss over the real complaint of Ethan, the anti-Semitism, also minimizing Gila's. Okay. Also minimizing Gila's struggle as an artist. As an artist? You mean plagiarizing other people's art? And then they present a both sides argument saying each fan base are just passionate. One fan base is being viciously attacked and one fan base is supporting terrorist propaganda. How is that equal? Notice they both openly declare they're Trisha fans. Supporting terrorist propaganda. I know Ethan Klein is supporting the Palestinian genocide. That is pretty terroristic. God damn, dude. This is sad. 37 upvotes. Are Destiny's fans getting bored of Ethan? Oh, wow. Wow, chat. Vio brought me food. She brought me a lot of food. This is too much. This is like something you put in front of like multiple people, Vio. I'll never eat this all.
Say thank you right now.
Thank you, View. Unasked for, chat. This is not... Now, unlike Ethan Klein, I don't have a live-in maid and housekeeper that I pay less than minimum wage and then who ends up suing me for, wrongful termination because I got sick. No Sabra hummus. No hummus at all, chat. We've got mango. We've got, like, some salami. There's some various cheeses. I see some cheddar. I see some Swiss Havarti, I think it is. And some grapes. Wow. Thank you, Vio. H3 is like, man, this sub is dying, dude.
It's feeling like anytime there's like a creator group, there's always something going to go wrong with that group.
Don't join a creator group, ever.
Yeah.
I guess the vlog squad is relatively...
I think one of the craziest things about this is that if Ethan had like charitably listened to what I was trying to explain to him.
Hasan Hasan on Lolcow Live. Dark green socks. This must be a foot soldier.
How beautiful, how multicultural, how like free it feels for people, or just it's a beautiful place. It is. It's one of the most diverse places I've ever been. We're planning to go to
so diverse. It's so multicultural and so diverse. Anyway, if you want to understand why it's ridiculous, obviously this in and of itself is frustrating to hear, okay? It's frustrating to hear what? In response to you saying the Hamas wouldn't kill hostages because they're literally their bargaining chips, he went on to say that they killed the kids because, quote, they didn't want to take care of them. Yeah, I know. It's because, yes, because everything the Palestinians do are bad. Everything that Israel does, even if it's bad, it was actually in the direction of good, a higher good, okay? Hey, Hasan, I was just wondering if you're anti-BDS because apparently it's anti-Semitic, or anti-blockade, despite saying Nelson Mandela and the ANC blocking commerce was base, anti-JF Jewish Voice for Peace, calling them a slur, anti-creators for Palestine because they're not real activism, and also wants to show how non-Jim Crow like Israel is to whitewash the apartheid. Can you still be pro-Palestinian? Asking for a friend. They donated $6,500 one time. Yeah, $6,500 to the fundraiser that I was doing, by the way. You know, the main terrorist guy. So ridiculous. It's so gross to use this ongoing conflict, no matter which side you're on, this ongoing conflict, as a way to drive a wedge, as a way to just be like, this is my own personal petty project. It's always pure projection. When he says you're using the genocide card, it's like, no, man, you're using an ongoing genocide. Go after people who are critical of the genocide, because you can't up with the reality that numerous people from the progressive community that you cultivated obviously had disagreements with the way that you were covering this. Yeah. Meanwhile, the leftover episodes are still up on their channel while trying to get you banned from Twitch. I know. Dangerous, scary, radical terrorism that he put up on his channel and still maintains on his channel while actively trying to get me banned, claiming that the platform he's on is, of course, not anti-Semitic, or the people that he hangs out with who literally voted for Donald Trump, they are all perfect little angels. But you know who's actually at fault? A person that I'm falsely claiming told his audience not to vote for Kamala Harris. Okay? Oh, I told his audience not to vote for Kamala Harris. I told his audience not to vote for Kamala Harris. Hasan voted for Kamala Harris. I'm the one who said don't vote for Kamala Harris. It was me. I was the one who defeated Kamala. I'm the one who's more influential than Hasan. Hasan told his audience to vote for Kamala Harris. They said, no, Mike was right. It was me. I defeated her. Can't find any clips of Hasan saying don't vote for Kamala Harris. Well, I'll just lie about it anyway, because my audience will eat it up. That's crazy, man. Yeah, I saw him desperately trying to find a clip of me not voting or urging people not to vote in spite of. This is what it looks like whenever you visit Ethan Klein's house. This is what he makes all his servants do.
I bet he didn't know that servants had to give room when a member of the family came into the house. It means you turn and face the wall. Apparently, if you can't see my face, I'm invisible. And then if you did want me for something, maybe a cup of coffee or brandy, even though my name's Andrew, you're very likely to call me James or Henry. Good servant names, much easier to remember.
That's what Dan looks like. Whenever Ethan comes into the room, Dan has to do that.
The reality that I've spent countless hours telling people to go out and vote, and literally voted on stream, by the way. Voted on stream. Yeah, Hasan is a big reason why Donald Trump won. Meanwhile, he had Steiny visit in person last week. A person who Donald Trump literally mentioned by name. I'm not even against communicating with people who voted for Trump. Obviously, I talk to Bradley Martin all the time. Okay? It's important to understand why people vote for Trump. It's also important to dismantle the arguments, you know? I don't know if he's doing that. What is this? What is this?
This is a result of Hasan's activism.
Did you not get the memo? We're way past that, Hasan. We hate you.
Yeah.
It actively didn't help make sure we don't get Trump in office, so.
I want to thank the Nelt Boys, the Nelt Boys, the Nelt Boys, the Nelt Boys.
Your favorite toy is here. Can we bring out our special guest?
It's my best bud.
It's Tiny!
Finally in the... Wow. Thank you guys for
What
inviting
a big old hug.
I hope he's happy with, like, Trump-Lindia that we're gonna get there.
I don't think he's full-blown right-wing, but he is certainly not pro-Palestine, okay? Just saying. He says you shouldn't talk about Nelson Mandela being on a terrorist watch list because Mandela was anti-violence. I know, I heard that. It's ridiculous. Nelson
Mandela was not Martin Luther King Jr., who, by the way, was also shot and killed. I think Ethan doesn't know the difference between Martin Luther King Jr. and Nelson Mandela. I literally don't think he knows the difference. I think he just thinks black civil rights guy. And he thinks they're all exactly the same.
He does not know. He does not understand. He doesn't know anything. That is the problem. But plenty of people also don't know anything. So when you have a major platform like this, okay, perhaps it would be best for you to at least do a little bit of cursory research before flying off the handles, making insane claims. There's a difference between asking people not to vote and choosing not to publicly endorse Kamala Harris out of good conscience in her Gaza policy. I've been watching you since 2019, and you consistently said to vote, even Democrat down the ballot for statewide and local races. Yeah, but it doesn't matter because his audience has not seen that, because his audience doesn't care. His audience doesn't know the truth.
His audience is not a political audience. He's doing the destiny route. I've tried to explain this multiple times, but I'm going to keep explaining it. The destiny route is you create a cult-like following and you use politics to get attention on the algorithm. But none of your followers actually give a shit about politics. They just use politics as a way of hooking into the algorithm and getting famous people to talk to. That's it. You don't actually believe in anything and you have no political goals. It's about building a little cult and having them follow you around and say what you say. They don't actually have their own analysis or their own views, because that gets in the way of the cult leader's desires, which is to have more political power. It's a fundamentally fascist way of approaching politics, of personal loyalty and extreme pragmatism.
Truth, and many in his audience don't seem to care about the truth. They're so washed away in the petty grievances that this man has. That's what's so sad about it. It's like we don't have a lot of progressive spaces, okay? There aren't that many outwardly progressive content creators out there, outwardly progressive commentators out there, okay? So it's sad to see relatively large audience of somewhat progressive individuals turning around and just taking the most reactionary position on Israel because their favorite content creator has been crying victim for a year now. But now he's stuck because he farmed all of the anti-Hasan people, and the moment that he stops talking about me, they're not going to give a about his goofs and gaffes. He already eradicated his audience that cared about the goofs and gaffes by fatiguing them with endless amounts of Hasan content. Sure, maybe a decent 30% of your base actually also came on board with the Hasan content, and they think I'm a vile human being because your subreddit is big.
The A3 subreddit has 30 plus posts dedicated to Hasan. And I'm sure there's like 5 or 10 about me as well. Which is really just Hasan once removed.
Basically turned into the Hasan snark page now. It's Destiny 2. Okay. But the moment that you move on to a different target, they're going to go away. I don't know if he'll stop talking about you. I don't think he will, but it's okay. He's just going to keep lying over and over again in more insane ways. It is what it is. It's also extra funny that not only do they actively brigade shit, but then they also, he literally, they forced a journalist to go private after writing an article about me because Ethan Klein posted on his Instagram story like a goddamn coward again, okay, crying about a positive article that came out about me on Slate. Ridiculous. I know he worked with Dan Saltman, Sex Pestini's doxing brigadier general for his nuke, and that's why it was dog and it flopped. Have fun suing Reddit mods, dude. I'm sure that'll make people.
Suing Reddit mods is what you do right after you win.
People like you. He got the views though. Come on, dog. His Keemstar nuke was like 6 million. He
Israel
literally
has agreed
activated
to release 620 Palestinian hostages from Israeli torture camps. The remains of 4 Israelis will be turned over in exchange for the release of hundreds of Palestinian prisoners, which have been delayed. Hamas has been releasing hostages and performative ceremonies aimed at showing that it's still in control of Gaza. Yeah, they keep giving gift bags and like certificates to the hostages. That's crazy.
His inactive channel to try and, you know, farm more people to the cause. All he did was remind people that they were subscribed to his old channel and then subsequently unsubscribe. Cried about me not watching his content puke. I still, after all is said and done, I still wish Ethan well. I want him to get better because I think that there is still a kind individual deep down inside. Okay? But I think that
There isn't. This is the main disagreement with Hasan and me. I do not wish Ethan well. I want Ethan to suffer exactly what he imagines the Palestinians deserve. That's what I want for you, Ethan. I want you to live the life that you want to condemn others to live. I want you to be given cosmic justice. And if you wish the Palestinians well, then I wish you well.
This past year has completely bricked his brain. He literally thinks like people calling him a Zionist is the most anti-Semitic thing he's ever heard, when, you know, he's just defending Israel over and over again. Not directly defending Israel and saying like Israel's the greatest nation on the planet, even though he did do that when he said he was going to go to Israel. Okay. But defending Israel nonetheless by attacking every vocal advocate of Palestinians and calling them all terrorists. Like, sure, he's not doing "I hope your beeper goes off" memes in public, okay? But that doesn't change the reality that he has actively worked to deplatform every pro-Palestinian content creator. Like, how the can you say you're pro-Palestinian? What he said to Muhammad on Twitter wasn't that far off from a Bieber meme, to be fair. I mean, yeah, have fun in Gaza, where they'll throw your gay ass off the roofs. I think that was one of the last things he tweeted before he was like, oh no, I can't take it. I should leave Twitter. And then lo and behold, what does he do? He just goes around posting Instagram stories because you can't see the replies on Instagram stories, you know? You're saying you were in the Turkish military? Yeah. Did you see that your tweet about that weird gamer guy? All the groypers are under that now. Oh, this one?
Oh yeah, that's another thing. Oh God, I forgot to mention this. Oh, this is so important. Hold on. I would say that the number one source of guys that are defending Ethan are literally groypers. They're literally fascist groypers. I thought it was weird for a while. I was like, somebody would reply to me and go like, Mike, you're fat. And I'd be like, okay, what is this guy? So I'd like look at their account and it's like following, you know, Nick Fuentes and, you know, various like groyper orbiters. And I would be like, huh? It's like, this isn't even an Ethan Klein fan. This isn't even a Destiny fan. This is just a straight up like Nazi. And I was like, oh, what the fuck? So I would say like most of the motion, most of the pushback I'm seeing nowadays is literally just Nazis. It's kind of weird that they're on the same side as Ethan Klein. I don't know why that is. It's fucking weird. Today I learned what a groyper is. A groyper is a member of an online group of very far right kids, basically, surrounding a specific content creator named Nick Fuentes, and they use these like very cursed Pepe memes, which they call the groyper. That's all it is. They use him as a useful idiot. Yeah, it's actually pretty fascinating how fascists are very comfortable doing that. And I will give the groypers credit on one point. They know who the real threat is, right? Like, every groyper understands that, you know, Nancy Pelosi and Ethan Klein and Destiny are not in opposition to their plans, right? They understand that the real threat to them is Bernie Sanders and Hasan, and to a much lesser extent, people like me, right? They get it. They understand politically that what everyone else already understands. Liberals are implicit allies of fascism.
The one who was like, you targeted gamers. Gamers. Grums. I said, I can't believe there's a real tweet from a man who's about to be 60 years old. People used to feel shame. This motherfucker really did the I studied the blade unironically. The Quartering posted this. Yeah, I look hot as dog. What are you talking about? You will never be able to look like that. Imagine looking like the Quarter Pounder and then posting this as though this is a own. I'm going to quote retweet it. Remember those goofs and gaffs? Speaking of goofs and gaffs, that's the type of people Ethan used to clown on. Doesn't that even remotely help you realize how shitty of a situation you're in? Like, maybe you're not on the right side of this argument when you got Keemstar and every drama YouTuber on your side that does slop content. Perhaps that should include him in on where he was at on this issue.
Well, that's because they're fascists and they understand. Again, everybody understands. Remember what I said earlier about metapolitics? You know, remember what I said about metapolitics? Ethan Klein is not going to be contesting the right-wingers in the areas of pre-political spaces. Hasan is. And in fact, Hasan is one of the only people doing it, which is why he's such a big threat.
Or maybe his audience. But of course, what's your calculation on talking about it versus not giving it any attention? My calculation is, if it's like random petty who gives a... But if I actively see you doing pro-Israel propaganda under the guise of being pro-Palestinian to your relatively progressive audience, then yeah, I think that's a bridge too far. That was the exact same reason as to why I talked about Destiny as well after years and years of Destiny coming after me. Not because I was afraid of covering Destiny, but because I didn't give a shit. Who cares? Ironically, at the time, I didn't think Ethan was a hardcore Zionist. A famous clip of me telling directly to his face, "There's only so much I can do about moderation when you're coming across like you're defending Israel," is from an argument where he called JVP Live capos. Nice try playing the genocide card, scumbag. You can't hide behind your advocacy. You're hiding behind Instagram stories. You can't even talk to me in person. I'll go on your stream. I guess what is frustrating with Ethan is that he has reached out to people who know their stuff on Palestine, like Ilan Pape. At least you've had people who know more about this volatile issue on stream. That's what I mean. Ethan Klein is afraid of anti-Zionist Jews, okay? He's afraid of anti-Zionists in general, but he is certainly afraid of anti-Zionist Jews because if he talks to an anti-Zionist Jew, okay, they're going to be like, yeah, dog, you're f***ing insane. And he's going to freak. That's why, if you noticed, half the clips that he uses are literally clips where I'm sitting next to Alex, Lol Overruled, Noah Culwin, or Felix Biederman. Why does he never talk about Felix Biederman or Noah Culwin? Because he can't call them anti-Semites, okay? He hasn't reached that stage of Zionism yet. It's much harder to present someone who is an anti-Zionist Jew as an anti-Semite to your audience of not super well-informed, but relatively progressive individuals. He hasn't watched Bad Hosbury yet? Yeah, no talking to Matt Lieb. What's up with that? He calls them tokens. Yeah, I wonder how that would go if he did that directly to the faces of people. He said I was tokenizing Sam. Yeah. I know for a fact that other content creators also see all this. They don't say anything because they don't want to draw the ire of his rabid fan base who will go after and harass people endlessly. Classic. Hold on. I got to take Kaya out.
A few of the racist lies Ethan tells in defense of Israel's apartheid regime and their
I don't know what this video is, but hold on. I'm gonna be back in a second. I gotta take Kaya out.
Think that Jews as an ethnic minority in Israel would not be safe?
Jews are the ethnic majority in the UN-recognized territory of Israel. They've been the majority ever since Zionist forces captured 80% of his...
Yes, that's a racist belief. Yes, that's a racist belief. Just like it was a racist belief to believe that white people would be safe in the South if we ended Jim Crow. That is a racist, nonsensical belief.
Historic Palestine between 47 and 49. In that time, Zionist forces ethnically cleansed 80% of the indigenous population of Palestine. And ever since, Jews have lived as a privileged class in an apartheid state.
After all, Israel is a country of refugees. If the Jews didn't come from Europe after the Holocaust, they came from the surrounding Arab countries.
Jewish settlement and colonization of
Yeah, this is what I was talking about when he said like 1 million Jews were forcibly expelled from surrounding Arab nations. Like, how ridiculous to make that comparison to the Nakba while simultaneously undermining the crime of ethnic displacement of over 750,000 Palestinians. Ridiculous. Pro-Palestine my ass. Once again, I ask everyone, is Ethan Klein stupid and not knowledgeable about the history of this country that he's defending? Or is he in bad faith doing propaganda? Historical revisionism. The expulsions that were planned according to Israeli... Well, I believe he's no longer an Israeli citizen, but...
Vio says, but I poisoned it. She's still tempted. Yeah, the cheese is safe. The crackers were safe.
Israeli scholar Ilan Pape were planned, okay? They were planned. The expulsions were planned, okay? They did a lot of violence in villages that had cooperative agreements with surrounding Israeli villages, specifically so that it would be easier to forcibly expel the other Palestinian villagers in other villages and also large cities. This was all a plan before the inception of the Israeli nation state. This is a fact that even people who are now pro-Israel, like historian Benny Morris, agrees to. This is an established fact amongst the new historians in Israel. Okay? The difference between someone like Benny Morris, however, and someone like Ilan Pappé or Avi Shlaim is that Benny Morris establishes that fact and says now that it was good that it happened. It had to happen. Okay? There is a major difference between that and working on Avi Shlaim, another Iraqi-Israeli historian, Avi Shlaim, and his work on the matter of what happened to the Jews in Iraq specifically, where the Israeli government literally blew up synagogues in an effort to create pressure amongst the Iraqi Jewish population. Many of these Arab nations did not want the Jewish populations to leave. Okay? They either cut separate agreements with outside pressure if they were, under the protectorate of France, for example, cut deals specifically with the state of Israel. And on top of that, there was still a lot of violence that Israeli citizens, or not Israeli citizens, Jews experience in these countries due to pan-Arabic nationalism at the time, and also due to the violence that the early Zionist brigades enacted upon the Palestinian villagers. Okay? The notion that this is in any way, shape, or form comparable to the planned expulsion of 750,000 Palestinians from their ancestral homelands is ridiculous. It is akin to genocide denial. I mean, maybe Ethan doesn't know that, to be fair. To be fair to him, maybe Ethan does not know that. Okay? But he should not be so confident in saying something so ridiculous, such as the expulsion of Jews from Arab countries, from surrounding Arab countries, was worse than the Nakba. Incredible levels of stupidity.
Palestine began in the 1800s.
By the way, there was a big strategy to offer right of return for all Israelis in those former Arab states in return for a right of return for Palestinians. And guess what? Israel rejected that deal because they don't care. They just use it as a talking point. It's not a real point they believe in or care about.
Hundreds, well before World War II, and the refugees to which Ethan refers actively participated in massacring and ethnically cleansing the indigenous population of Palestine. The point Ethan is making is akin to claiming that the white Afrikaners of South Africa or pilgrims in America who arrived as poor people with nowhere else to go should be seen as victims despite their colonization of the land and extermination of the indigenous population.
Can you please elaborate on how Nakba is worse than the expulsions from Middle Eastern countries? My Jewish best friend does the exact same argument. I already did. One is a planned expulsion through terror of ethnic Palestinians from their ancestral homelands that Israel wanted to develop a nation state on top of. The other is literally goaded by the Israeli state because it benefits their settler colonial agenda. Okay? And yes, there were expulsions on top of that, or not expulsions necessarily, but there were crimes, hate crimes against Jews that took place too, of course, born out of the violence that all of these other Arab nations had seen the early Zionist brigades bring on top of the Palestinian population. But the notion that this was like an instantaneous response and that there was mass purges that took place all around the Levant is ridiculous. It was not planned and prepared. And in many instances, Israel itself, because it suited their purpose of settler colonialism, actually urged these governments to expel the Jewish populations. The governments themselves did not want to expel their Jewish populations. Here is Iraqi British Israeli historian Avi Shlaim, one of the new historians from Israel, explaining this. Okay, he wrote an entire book on the subject matter. If Ethan, being someone who is pro-Palestinian and having this massive audience, wanted to actually educate himself on the history of the ridiculous apartheid state that he's trying to defend, poorly, mind you, he could just as easily search this information. So the question remains, why won't he search this information? Why does he go on the attack, especially against others who he knows are not anti-Semitic, people like myself, okay? While there is a sea of anti-Semitism out there, Why does he single out someone who has actively combated anti-Semitism over and over again?
Jews were convinced that Israel had a hand in uprooting them. After the 1948 war, there was mounting popular hostility towards the Jews in Iraq. 5 bombs exploded in Jewish sites. The series of bombs created a panic which led more and more Jews to register to leave the country. I met an elderly friend of my mother's, an Iraqi Jew called Yaakov Karkukli, who had been in the Zionist underground. One member of his group, Yosef Basri, a very, very intelligent Jewish lawyer, and his assistant, Shalom Saleh Shalom, were responsible for 3 out of the 5 bombs. Basri's controller was an Israeli intelligence officer named Max Binet, who was based in Tehran.
The Arab expulsions were beneficial for the Israeli state's settler colonial project. Okay? Each individual country has a different history and a different association. But the claim that this was widespread...
The propaganda is so good I didn't know.
To claim that this was widespread anti-Semitism after Jews had lived in these countries under the protectorate of the Ottoman Empire for centuries is ridiculous. Okay? Because under the Ottoman Empire...
The Arabs just were like, you know, we've lived with Jews for thousands of years, but now that the Nazi Germany has been defeated, we just decided we hate Jews. Like, it's
Jews
just nonsense.
Had the same rights that Christians did. It was seen as a safe haven for Jews. That's why there are so many Jewish people that historically lived in these Arab nation states. Okay, the idea that like there was mass expulsions or mass pogroms occurring in the Levant is ahistorical. Okay, and if you were to turn around and say, oh, well, they had to pay a tax, jizya, okay, Christians did too. Most of the problems against Jewish people under the Ottoman protectorate actually came from Christians regardless. It is ahistorical and ridiculous. This is Ottoman propaganda. These people treated us as second-class citizens in our own country. Okay, first of all, once again, chatter, it's not Ottoman propaganda. It's historical Jewish propaganda then, okay? Because the Ottoman Empire was broadly seen as a safe haven for Jews because Jews were victims of pogroms in the Christian Western European nations, in Europe in general. That is just the truth. And in terms of being considered a second-class citizen, okay, it is the exact same for non-Muslims across the board. I'm not saying this was the most woke, but in comparison to the Inquisition, yeah, it was infinitely better. The notion that there was unimaginable anti-Semitism happening in comparison to the Inquisition is ahistorical. Okay? Coexistence with Jews wasn't because of the Ottoman rule. It was under the Arab Caliphate too. Yes. Muslims also paid a tax. They paid a different tax. History of Jews in the Ottoman Empire. The existence of Jews in the Ottoman Empire is particularly significant because the region provided a principal place of refuge for Jews driven out of Western Europe by massacres and persecution. This isn't a defense of the shit that the Ottoman Empire did. Of course, they're an empire, all right? But in comparison to, it was on the Jewish Chronicle too. What did the Ottoman Empire ever do for us? Quite a lot, in fact. Contrary to the prevailing view, the Turkish civilization had an egalitarian, multicultural outlook which protected Jews. Anyway, before people say, oh, you only read the headlines, I've read this entire article on stream before, okay? Regardless, the only reason why I brought this up is because a lot of people falsely say that there is like a historic ancient anti-Semitism among the Arab nations, okay? This is not correct. This is completely incorrect. It's a relatively new phenomena that the Western world has very openly passed the torch on after their historic anti-Semitism and their pogroms and the Holocaust. Now they, even in Germany, claim that the woke Muslim radicals are actually bringing anti-Semitism to Germany.
Okay, I'm fucking malding, chat. This is what I've been malding over. Am I on the other monitor? Sabby says, what is Mike from Temu doing being this racist? You gotta be shitting me right now. You gotta be shitting me right now. I don't have dimples like this, okay? I'm not wearing my little sister's headband, okay? And I'm certainly not wearing, as I said before, the Ghostbusters secretary's glasses on stream. Like, come on! And Temu makes quality products.
Ridiculous.
In fact, there was more Jews displaced than Palestinians during the Nakba. 1 million Jews.
There is zero
Yeah, I could not believe this is what I meant. This is like insane.
factual basis to this statement. The Nakba is the ethnic cleansing of Palestine, which took place between 47 to 49. There was no mass displacement of Jews during the Nakba approaching anything close to 1 million Jews. Jewish emigration from Muslim countries occurred over the course of decades, and Middle Eastern Jews were not expelled by their respective governments or through military force.
The Arab countries got super anti-Semitic against their own Jewish citizenry that had nothing to do with Israel. And as a result, they kicked them
That
off.
had nothing to do with Israel. Like, what are you talking about? People voluntarily left to go to Israel. Like, what do you mean? It's not the entire story, but Jesus Christ.
Out 1 million plus of them and forced them to go the one place they hated the most, Israel. And now those same people that forced them out of their homes are telling them they don't belong there. So if the Jews of Israel are surrounded by Islamic military...
So this also is a really funny point that he made in his content puke, where he brings up Hezbollah and Hamas. Jews are surrounded by their enemies. What the Hezbollah or Hamas in 1948? Both Hamas and Hezbollah were developed as not even Hezbollah, but Hamas initially was a literal Islamic charity that turned into a resistance group against Israel. Hezbollah developed as a resistance group against Israeli occupation. Okay? Many decades after Israel was even created as a violent settler colonial enterprise. Absolutely ridiculous statement. Incredibly ahistorical. And not only that, but I'll take it one step further. Okay? In terms of Hamas, Israel itself tilted the scales in Hamas's favor numerous times. Why did Israel do that? Because they correctly predicted that, well, not completely correctly, but they predicted that they would be easier to dominate. They would be easier to destroy because they would be able to get very little Western support as opposed to the secular, Christian, and socialist resistance groups that were under the PLO. Israel tilted the scales in Hamas's favor time and time again because they were worried that the Western world was too sympathetic to the plight of Palestinians when the Palestinians that were speaking about their own victimhood, their real victimhood in the hands of Israel, happened to be socialist, secular socialist, leftist Palestinians. Israel assassinated all of those leaders, okay, including Ghassan Kanafani, who very famously never even held a gun.
We already talked about that.
Him and his family members, immediate family members. Now, why would Hezbollah form in Lebanon? Maybe because Israel expelled Palestinians into Lebanon, members of the PLO into Lebanon, and then Israel decided to invade Lebanon. And the Lebanese population was like, okay, well, we have to fight back. What the f- is this? And that's how Hezbollah came into the equation. None of this was there when Israel was invented. And Israel's inception is a violent one. It's just cry, bully, perceived victimhood nonsense. This is pure pro-Israeli propaganda. It's historical revisionism, and it's ridiculous. If you have done any reading whatsoever on the inception of the Israeli state or the inception of the resistance against the Israeli violence in...
The reason why they have to do this propaganda, and this is a very important point, is that Israel cannot exist on its own. It's very important to understand that colonial projects cannot exist without a connection to a source of their power, which is the colonizing polity. Or Israel. The colonizing polity has shifted. At the beginning of the project, it was a British-led project, and then it was transitioned to an American-led project. You could really say it's the last British colonial project is Israel, and it was handed like a baton to the U.S. for use during the Cold War and now. But Israel, should there be a withdrawal of the support of the colonizing polity, Israel would wither instantly. Israel would wither into Palestine within a generation, probably faster, unless it could find another colonizing polity to take up the baton. That is the reality. That's why they have to spend so much time pretending to be victims, pretending to be our ally, pretending this, pretending that, because they understand better than anyone that Israel cannot survive without U.S. support.
Numerous countries around Israel, you would know that this is a ridiculous thing to point to.
Terrorist groups.
Ethan racistly suggests that all Arabs and Muslims should be regarded as the same people. Hamas and Hezbollah never forced Jews out of their homes and did not even exist at the time of the Nakba. These resistance groups formed under Israeli occupation as Israeli forces brutalized, massacred, and dominated their people.
By the way, oh yeah, keep sucking Hamas. I know. Keep refusing to learn about history, man. Keep refusing to learn about history. The funniest part about this is that I have probably poured countless hours of not only research, commentary, by directly talking to academics as well. All of that is readily available on my YouTube. You can watch any number of different videos, okay? But instead, you just plug your ears and go, la, 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 I can't hear you. Okay, it's fine. It's hilarious hearing that when you know anything about medieval history and know how even Al-Andalus in the 700s was noted for giving Jews protections to the point of where most Jews migrated there from Christian kingdoms, which led to a golden age law. Being a historian sucks, man. Yeah. Where does he get his info from? I don't know. I have no idea what his
studying history. Do you think Ethan Klein gives a fuck about history? Do you think Ethan Klein gives a fuck about accuracy or knowledge or anything in general? He doesn't fucking care. All right, chat. I am so bored of this topic. I gotta be honest. Like the Ethan Klein, I feel like it's jumped the shark. I feel like Ethan Klein shit has jumped the shark. It's really boring at this point. Like it's not even like good drama slop content. I'd rather be talking about more political shit. We're gonna be reducing our drama slop quotient because it's just boring at this point. Subject to change if I feel like I could get a bunch of views out of it. But like overall, like I feel like we're milking this dry at this point. It feels boring to me. You know what I mean? It just feels boring as fuck to me. All right, everybody. That's gonna be it for me today. I'm gonna send you up, guys, gals, non-binary pals. We're gonna get more hardcore into politics tomorrow. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. Oh wait, hold. This is a little too early. Let's get a little bit of the song going. All right, everybody. See you tomorrow. Stay safe. Hit the follow button. Thank you for all the support. You guys are the best. See you tomorrow.
Listening to Mike from PA unites the world in song. So come rest, come and rally, for this is the time and place. Join the Central Committee and unite the human race. Down the bourgeoisie to see the end of capitalism. We must set Luigi free. Demand that health care be provided, as well as housing and food security. We'll build high-speed rails and revolutions with heads of billionaires and solidarity. A gift up to Central Committee is one step closer to righting the wrong.